Chapter 139. Wang Kai, don't be so arrogant. Let me, Tang Bufan, fight you. Seeing that Yu Dongqing, who was also a disciple of the three upper sects, was heavily injured, and thinking of the suppression that the martial soul palace had on the clear sky sect in the past, Tang Bufan, who was beside Elder Tang Xing of the clear sky sect, finally stood up. He strode to the edge of the soul battle arena and leaped onto it. Tang Bufan was a genius disciple of the clear sky sect. He became a soul king at the age of 21, and he was already a 57-year-old soul king at the age of 24. Furthermore, Tang Bufan was not only a genius in cultivation, but he was also very strong in battle. He had defeated many mid-level and even high-level soul emperors. Tang Bufan, Clear Sky Sect, rank 57 Assault-type Soul Master. Please guide me. As he spoke, Tang Bufan's yellow, purple, and black soul rings appeared behind him. Soul power condensed, and a jet-black hammer appeared in Tang Bufan's hand. The handle of this hammer was about 1.5 meters long, and the hammerhead was cylindrical. It looked like a miniature version of a forging hammer and wasn't very eye-catching. However, there was a circle of complicated blood-red patterns around the cylindrical hammerhead. On the surface of the hammer, there was a special light that moved one's soul. The clear sky hammer was the martial soul with the strongest attack power on the Dolua continent. It was also the nemesis of all assault-type martial souls. At the same time, it was also the second martial soul of the Dolua continent's current son of destiny and Wang Kai's destined enemy, Tang San. Wang Kai, Martial Soul Hall, rank 57 Assault-type Soul Master. Please guide me. His soul rings shone as he activated his third soul skill. The blood-red Shura dragon-slaying spear appeared in Wang Kai's hand once again. Clear Sky Power. Tang Bufan's fourth soul ring shone as he activated his fourth soul skill. Immediately, a layer of red light spread from the clear sky hammer in his hand and enveloped his entire body. Clear Sky Power was an amplification-type soul skill. Once it was activated, it could increase Tang Bufan's strength by 50%. After activating his soul skill, Tang Bufan stomped on the ground and charged towards Wang Kai. Wild Splitting Wind Hammer Technique, first move. As soon as he attacked, Tang Bufan used the Clear Sky Sect's special skill, the Wild Hammering Technique. Tang Bufan exerted force with both of his arms, and the Clear Sky Hammer, which weighed over 100 jin, flew into the air, bringing with it a fierce gust of wind as it struck towards Wang Kai's chest. Good timing! Seeing Tang Bufan's attack, Wang Kai's eyes revealed a trace of joy. All along, Wang Kai had wanted to personally experience the disorder-splitting wind hammer technique. On one hand, it was to prepare for his future battle with Tang San, and on the other hand, it was to absorb the essence of the disorder-splitting wind hammer technique to evolve the limitless blood fiend spear technique. The battle with Tang Bufan this time was exactly what he wanted. Little Guang, detect and record the enemy's cultivation technique, and use it as information to improve the limitless blood fiend spear art. While instructing, Wang Kai also made preparations. Shura's blood fiend spear art. Shura's monarch armor didn't come into contact with it, so Wang Kai only accumulated strength before he struck out with his spear. Suddenly, Shura's Dragonslayer spear drew a perfect blood-red arc in the air, and met the clear sky hammer in mid-air. Clang! Following the violent sound of metal clashing, Wang Kai's spear sent Tang Bufan flying a few steps back, and he also took half a step back because of the impact. What strength! Tang Bufan felt his arm go numb as he felt the huge force from the clear sky hammer, and thought to himself. Although the Clear Sky Sect was known as the #1 Tool Martial Soul in the Dolua continent, Tool Martial Souls were still weaker than Beast Martial Souls in terms of strength and fighting strength before one became a Soul Sage and awakened their Martial Soul true bodies. Even Yu Dongqing, who had the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon, couldn't compare to Wang Kai in strength, let alone Tang Bufan. However, Tang Bufan wasn't discouraged. After all, Wang Kai's attack was strong, but it wasn't enough to kill him in one strike. Furthermore, the chaotic splitting wind hammer was a technique that became stronger the more he fought. As long as he didn't lose, he could push the chaotic splitting wind hammer technique to the 80th hammer strike. With his soul power and strength, he could at least threaten a soul sage. When that happened, he had a very high chance of defeating or even severely injuring Wang Kai. Beside him, Wang Kai was delighted as he felt the chaotic splitting wind hammer technique. The clear sky sex chaotic splitting wind hammer technique was indeed the crystallization of a titled Dolua's wisdom. Compared to the current boundless blood spear technique, it was indeed more exquisite, and there were many things that he could learn from it. As long as Xiao Guang could record the details of the chaotic splitting wind hammer technique and analyze it, Wang Kai's boundless blood spear technique would be able to become even stronger. Countless thoughts flashed through their minds, but their hands didn't stop moving in the soul dueling arena. As powerful individuals who had experienced hundreds of battles, Wang Kai and Tang Bufan adjusted their postures almost at the same time when they landed. Immediately after, they soared into the air and attacked each other with their spears and hammers. As their spears and hammers collided, Wang Kai and Tang Bufan were immediately entangled in a fight. In the blink of an eye, Wang Kai and Tang Bufan had already fought for more than 20 rounds. As time passed, the power gathered on Tang Bufan's clear sky hammer became more and more powerful, and the power of each of his hammers became stronger and stronger. However, he was still suppressed by Wang Kai. Not only that, he could feel that the power of Wang Kai's spear was also getting stronger and stronger. Could it be that this martial spirit hall's holy son also has a technique to accumulate power? Even though he was surprised in his heart, Tang Bufan's movements didn't stop at all. Every strike of his hammer was faster and fiercer than the last, and it smashed down towards Wang Kai with an earth-shattering force. Clang! Another loud sound came from the sky, but this time, Tang Bufan felt that the strength coming from the handle seemed to be weaker, and his attack actually forced Wang Kai back by half a step. Haha, lose for me. After forcing Wang Kai back with one hammer, Tang Bufan felt extremely carefree in his heart, and he smashed another hammer towards Wang Kai's direction. He was secretly delighted in his heart. It seems that although this martial spirit hall's holy son's technique can accumulate power, his technique is far inferior to my wild hammering technique. Limitless blood spear art. Although he was forced back by Tang Bufan, Wang Kai's face was still as calm as an ancient well. His spear force wasn't interrupted by Tang Bufan, or he couldn't continue accumulating spear force, but he chose to stop himself. Facing the wild hammering technique's 99th and 80th strike, Wang Kai also had to push the limitless blood spear art to the last move to resist. Indeed, Wang Kai could have pushed the limitless blood fiend spear technique to the 49th level long ago, and relied on the explosive strength to easily defeat Tang Bufan. However, in that way, he wouldn't have the chance to secretly learn the later moves of the disorder splitting wind hammer technique. Based on this consideration, Wang Kai didn't choose to continue advancing the limitless blood spear art. Instead, he dispersed the spear force in the 30-second move and immediately condensed it again. Holding the spear and rushing forward, Wang Kai once again fought fiercely with Tang Bufan. Chapter 140. Haha, you can't beat me. The power of the wild hammering technique will only get stronger and stronger. Lose. With joy in his eyes, Tang Bufan waved the clear sky hammer in his hand crazily. Again and again, he attacked Wang Kai with a terrifying power that could destroy mountains. Humph, sharp-tongued guy. If you want to defeat me, show me some real ability. Without the slightest panic, Wang Kai's Shura dragon-killing spear danced in the air and collided with the clear sky hammer that kept attacking him. Blow after blow, Wang Kai's accumulated spear power rose again. However, with the support of the wild hammering technique, Tang Bufan's power was also increasing. After all, it was a little late to accumulate spear power again. Therefore, every time the spear and hammer collided, Wang Kai would take half a step or a step back. He was actually slightly at a disadvantage. The Holy Sun's situation is a little bad. Yes, the Holy Sun's spear power stopped at the 30-second strike last time. However, the wild hammering technique has 81 moves. Is the Holy Sun going to lose? No, I believe the Holy Sun won't lose. Seeing that Wang Kai was temporarily at a disadvantage, the white-robed and red-robed bishops of the martial spirit palace who were watching the battle were slightly worried for Wang Kai. Even the elders who were sitting upright before had a trace of uneasiness in their eyes. On the other hand, Tang Xing revealed a faint smile. In the blink of an eye, another 32 moves had passed. Tang Bufan waved his arm again, and the clear sky hammer attacked Wang Kai fiercely. However, this time, Wang Kai's spear power did not fade away. Instead, it continued to accumulate and rose even more than before. This time, Wang Kai and Tang Bufan were actually tied. Seeing this, the people of the martial spirit palace finally heaved a sigh of relief. However, the complacency on Tang Xing's face did not decrease at all. So what if he has another move? With the wild hammering technique's effect, Tang Bufan's attack power would only become stronger and stronger. In the end, he would definitely defeat Wang Kai. After more than 10 moves, Wang Kai and Tang Bufan were still locked in a fierce battle. At this time, the limitless blood spear technique and wild hammering technique had been pushed to the peak. Wild hammering technique 9-1. Tang Bufan gathered all's chi and blood chi and soul power, swung the 81st strike of the wild hammering technique. However, the 81 strikes Tang Bufan's attack instantly, and the power of the 81 moves, of course, 1, Tang Bufan and Tang Bufan, Tang Bufan. Tang Bufan, Tang, Tang, Tang Bufan, Tang Bufan, Tang Bufan, Tang Bufan, Tang, Tang, Tang Bufan, Tang Tang. In this instant, the frightening strength of this attack surpassed Tang Bufan's peak. It even possessed several times the strength of a Soul Sage's all-out attack. After swinging this strike, Tang Bufan only felt that his arms were extremely sore and swollen. The muscles on his arms were slightly torn because of the strength of the clear sky hammer. However, Tang Bufan's face couldn't help but curl into a smile after unleashing this attack. Faced with such an attack, even a Soul Sage wouldn't dare to take it head-on, let alone Wang Kai, who was only a Soul King like him. Limitless Blood Spear Technique, 49th form. On the other side, Wang Kai had pushed his Limitless Blood Spear Technique to the peak. After the last strike, a blood dragon condensed from the 49 spear strikes shot out from the tip of Shura's dragon-slaying spear in Wang Kai's hand. It had the frightening power of annihilation as it went straight for the clear sky hammer. Instantly, an intense shockwave exploded from the center of the collision. The barrier around the soul dueling stage trembled slightly from the impact. In the air, the gigantic shadow of the clear sky hammer smashed through the spear light and smashed straight towards Wang Kai. Following 3 crisp sounds, the 3 blood-colored shields around Wang Kai exploded under the frightening power of the clear sky hammer. They turned into specks of blood particles and dissipated into the air. The remaining power of the clear sky hammer struck Wang Kai's chest heavily. Bang! A dull sound of impact rang throughout the soul dueling stage. Instantly, the Shura's monarch armor in front of Wang Kai's chest caved in. Even the Shura's scales on the surface of his body started to crack. The powerful impact penetrated through the 2 layers of protection and entered Wang Kai's organs. His throat heated up slightly, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. I won. Although his arm was still in pain, Tang Bufan's smile was even wider. Although Wang Kai's miraculous move had also surprised him, the clear sky sect's wild hammering technique was still a level higher. Even after Wang Kai's spear light had reduced the power of the clear sky hammer, the remaining power of the clear sky hammer's attack was definitely half as strong. Such a powerful impact was enough to smash Wang Kai's internal organs, severely injuring his vitality and causing him to fall unconscious. He had won this battle. Now, he was the hero of the Clear Sky sect. However, Tang Bufan's smile only lasted for a moment before it suddenly froze. On the other side of the soul dueling stage, Wang Kai's face was slightly pale, but he did not show any signs of collapsing. On the contrary, he only stood there for a few seconds before his face returned to normal. Then, he turned into a blood shadow and charged towards Tang Bufan. How is this possible? At this moment, Tang Bufan's mind was completely blank except for shock. Tang Bufan didn't know that his attack had penetrated Wang Kai's body with the dual defenses of Shura's monarch armor and Shura's scales. Not only that, but Wang Kai's organs had been tempered by the mysterious heaven suppression technique and the singular velvet sky chrysanthemum and the narcissus jade bone. His defense was already at the level of a mid-tier soul sage. Under these circumstances, Tang Bufan's attack had only damaged Wang Kai's organs to a certain extent. Therefore, although Wang Kai spat out a mouthful of blood, his injuries weren't serious at all. In fact, Tang Bufan's attack had only caused Wang Kai to lose less than 5% of his life force and blood essence. Wang Kai had already recovered to his peak condition after using his yin-yang body and earth strength. How dare you injure me? This is unforgivable. Wang Kai charged in front of Tang Bufan. His disdainful and arrogant voice rang out in the center of the arena. Tang Bufan's attack didn't cause Wang Kai much damage. Instead, it stimulated Wang Kai's Shura blood. Today, he was going to make Tang Bufan pay a painful price. Bufan, quickly admit defeat. Tang Xing hurriedly shouted when he saw this. Although he didn't have the eye of detection like Wang Kai, Tang Xing could still tell that Tang Bufan's fighting strength was less than half of his peak condition. However, Wang Kai's aura was even stronger than before. Chapter 141. No, I won't admit defeat. For the Clear Sky Sect. As a disciple of the Clear Sky Sect, Tang Bufan didn't have the words admit defeat and surrender in his dictionary. Tang Bufan's arms were sore and numb, and he had used up more than half of his soul force because of the disorder-splitting wind hammer, but he still used all the strength he had left to swing his Clear Sky Hammer at Wang Kai's Azura dragon-slaying spear. The Clear Sky Hammer swept towards Wang Kai with a gale. However, under the absolute difference in strength between the two of them, all of Tang Bufan's efforts were undoubtedly futile. Wang Kai knocked Tang Bufan's Clear Sky Hammer to the ground with just 3 spears. After that, Wang Kai swept out with his spear and knocked Tang Bufan, who'd lost his weapon, to the ground. You've lost. Wang Kai stepped forward and stomped heavily on Tang Bufan's face. His cold and imposing voice rang out in the soul dueling arena. Wang Kai, you've gone too far. Tang Xing immediately stood up when he saw this scene. He pointed at Wang Kai's nose and questioned him sternly. Humph, he actually dared to injure me. This is the price he has to pay. Wang Kai retracted his right foot from Tang Bufan's face and stared at Tang Xing as he replied coldly. Tang Xing was infuriated as he looked at Tang Bufan. Under Wang Kai's kick, the bridge of Tang Bufan's nose had already been shattered. His originally towering nose had also sunk in, and his face was a mess of flesh and blood. Wang Kai only wanted to teach Tang Bufan a lesson, so he retracted the Shura's thorn and Shura's blaze. However, Wang Kai's kick wasn't light at all. Not only was Tang Bufan's face disfigured, but he had also fainted from his injuries. His Dao heart had also been damaged. After such a blow, Tang Bufan would probably never be able to become a titled Dolua again. You. Fiercely staring at Wang Kai, Tang Xing didn't dare to say anything. After all, this was the territory of the Martial Spirit Palace. If he really dared to insult Wang Kai, then he and Tang Bufan could dream of leaving alive. For the sake of his life, no, for the sake of Tang Bufan, the future hope of the Clear Sky Sect, He could not afford to offend the martial spirit palace. Tang Xing tried his best to restrain his anger as he strode forward to assist Tang Bufan. At this moment, Wang Kai also kicked him heavily. Scram! In an instant, Tang Bufan's body rolled a few times on the Soul Battle Arena, and in the end, he fell heavily to the ground from the edge of the arena, causing a cloud of dust to rise into the air. Tang Xing looked at Tang Bufan with a pained expression. Tang Xing hurriedly ran to Tang Bufan's side and poured his soul force into Tang Bufan's body to prevent his injuries from worsening. At the same time, he hurriedly sought treatment from the Martial Soul Hall's healing soul masters. Since Bibidan didn't say anything, the Holy Lotus Dolua naturally wouldn't try to heal Tang Bufan, either. After all, compared to the Blue Lightning Tyrant sect, the conflict between the Martial Soul Hall and the Clear Sky sect was even more intense. However, the Martial Soul Hall wouldn't let Tang Bufan die here. Otherwise, it would trigger a war between the two great powers, and that wasn't a situation that either side wanted. It was also because of this that the Martial Soul Hall and the Clear Sky sect had always maintained peace on the surface, but there were countless open and covert conflicts between them. After doing all this, Wang Kai couldn't help but feel a lot more carefree. On one hand, he made Tang Bufan pay the price for offending him. On the other hand, Tang Bufan had also completely recorded the moves of the chaotic splitting wind hammer technique in his battle with Tang Bufan. With these records, Tang Bufan could continue to deduce the boundless blood spear technique and evolve it to the 64th form. Even though Tang Bufan still needed more time and more computing power to deduce the boundless blood spear technique to the 64th form, this was already a good start. "Brother Dai Jinghong, please." Without looking at Tang Bufan, who had fallen, Wang Kai turned his gaze to the last challenger from the Star Luo Empire. "I hope that your highness will be merciful." Dai Jinghong's back was almost covered in cold sweat, but he still forced himself to stand up and jump onto the soul dueling stage. Dai Jinghong was a member of the Star Luo Empire's imperial family. He was a rank 55 battle soul king, and his martial soul was the White Tiger. As a challenger from the Star Luo Empire, Dai Jinghong had the experience of defeating soul emperors many times. However, facing someone like Wang Kai, who could take the 9th, and 80th strikes of the Clear Sky hammer head-on, Dai Jinghong couldn't even muster a shred of resistance in his heart. Of course. After hearing Dai Jinghong's words, Wang Kai nodded calmly. Since Dai Jinghong's attitude was so humble, and he didn't hurt or anger Wang Kai naturally wouldn't treat him like how he treated Yu Dongqing and Tang Bufan. Furthermore, the emissary from the Star Luo Empire had just invited Wang Kai to visit the Star Luo Empire to express their goodwill. One wouldn't slap a smiling face, so Wang Kai naturally wouldn't be too harsh on Dai Jinghong. After exchanging names, Dai Jinghong immediately possessed his martial soul and transformed into a white tiger. Immediately after, he charged towards Wang Kai. "You've lost." After just 10 moves, Wang Kai flipped Dai Jinghong to the ground with a single spear strike, and Shura's dragon-slaying spear was aimed at Dai Jinghong's neck. "Lord Holy Sun's strength is indeed extraordinary. Thank you for showing mercy, Lord Holy Sun." Dai Jinghong's heart was filled with helplessness, but there was a helpless smile on his face. As he admitted defeat, he crawled up from the ground and walked back behind the emissary from the Star Luo Empire. He also knew that Wang Kai had already given him a lot of face by giving him 10 moves. If he went all out, he wouldn't be able to last more than 5 moves against Wang Kai. At this point, all 5 challengers had been defeated by Wang Kai, and the challenges of the Holy Sun coronation were officially over. After returning to the conference hall in the Pontiff's palace, all the bishops, elders, and spectators sat down. The 4th event of the Holy Sun coronation ceremony continued. "Wang Kai, the Holy Sun of the Martial Spirit Hall, your strength is extraordinary. After discussing with the elders of the Martial Spirit Hall, I've decided to reward Wang Kai with a soul bone that's more than 50,000 years old and a spatial soul tool. Bibidon stood up from her seat and opened her beautiful red lips as she announced in a low voice. Not long after, Chrysanthemum Doloa and Ghost Doloa each walked up with 2 trays in their hands. On one of the trays was a spatial ring, while on the other 3 trays were 3 incomparably precious soul bones. 53,000 years old Blackfiend Scale Dragon's torso bone. 61,000 years old Skull of Wisdom. 58,000 years old red-maned Snow Beast's left thigh bone. After pondering for a moment, Wang Kai directly chose the Skull of Wisdom, while Chrysanthemum Doloa and Ghost Doloa escorted the remaining 2 soul bones back to the Martial Spirit Hall's warehouse. Actually, it wasn't important to Wang Kai which soul bone to choose, because Wang Kai could easily use the system store to purchase soul bones that he wanted to change, and these soul bones that hadn't been available for 100,000 years were just a transition for Wang Kai. Therefore, after thinking about it, Wang Kai directly chose the skull bone that was supposed to belong to Tang San in the future. As for the spatial soul tool, other than Sendoryu and Chihiro Snow, the other soul masters in the Martial Spirit Hall didn't know that Wang Kai had such a treasure. Therefore, Sendoryu directly applied to the Martial Spirit Hall's Elder Council to give Wang Kai a spatial soul tool. Compared to the soul tool that Wang Kai had displayed earlier, the spatial soul tool that the Martial Soul Hall had bestowed upon Qianrenxue was undoubtedly much larger. The soul tool that Wang Kai had displayed earlier was perfect for Qianrenxue. At this point, the Holy Disciple ceremony was almost over. After a few more rounds, the Holy Disciple ceremony officially came to an end. At night, after a grand banquet, apart from the Clear Sky sect and the Blue Lightning Overlord sect, the Holy Disciple ceremony was very enjoyable. Although he was the Holy Disciple, Wang Kai didn't have to pay too much attention to his daily affairs. Therefore, his life returned to the daily routine of cultivation and training. Chapter 142. After being conferred the title of Holy Son, Wang Kai also grasped a certain amount of authority in the Martial Spirit Hall. As the Holy Son of the Martial Spirit Hall, Wang Kai had the authority to conscript the white-robed bishops, as well as the lower-ranked special deacons and deacons from all over the Martial Spirit Hall. As for the higher-ranked Soul Dolor red-robed bishops, Wang Kai did not have complete authority to conscript them, but he could apply for up to 4 red-robed bishops to cooperate with him. As for the higher-ranked titled Dolo elders, consecrators, and platinum bishops, not to mention Wang Kai, even the Pope, Bibidon, could not order them around. He had to respectfully ask them for help. However, if there was a reasonable request, Wang Kai still had the right to ask the elders to help. However, it was not certain whether they would agree or not. Other than that, after becoming the Holy Son, Wang Kai could use a lot more resources. However, these were not Wang Kai's greatest gains. After becoming the Holy Son of the Martial Spirit Hall, the world's malice towards Wang Kai had decreased by 2%. And with the protection of the infinite martial spirit system, the world's malice that Wang Kai was facing had decreased from 50% to 49%. Although this was a very small progress, it was still a good start. With such a good start, Wang Kai became more and more confident about his future. The second night of the Holy Sun ceremony, Martial Spirit Hall's secret training room. Teacher Li Ning, fight with me. Now I have the confidence to defeat you and officially graduate. Wang Kai came in front of Li Ning, bowed, and issued a challenge. Facing this teacher who did not spare any effort to teach him and even taught him the precious trick of multitasking, Wang Kai's tone was naturally very respectful. Of course. Wang Kai, I heard about your battle results yesterday. Good job, as expected of a soul master taught by me, Li Ning. Then, let's begin. Patting Wang Kai's shoulder heavily, Li Ning revealed a relieved smile on his face. Yes, to have such a talented and hard-working disciple like Wang Kai was truly a blessing sent to Li Ning by the heavens. Entering the arena, Li Ning immediately suppressed his soul power to that of a soul king. Then, he condensed his tiger soul saber martial soul, and 5 soul rings flashed behind him. "Teacher, be careful." After saying that, Wang Kai entered Emperor Shura's possession mode and summoned Shura's emperor armor and Shura's dragon-killing spear. The next moment, Wang Kai and Li Ning were already fighting, and the training room was filled with the sound of weapons clashing. In the blink of an eye, Wang Kai and Li Ning had exchanged hundreds of blows. He was different from Tang Bufan, Yu Dongqing, and Li Qinchan. After suppressing his soul force, Li Ning's soul force might only be comparable to the weaker Li Qinchan. However, Li Ning's combat awareness was several times sharper than theirs, and his comprehension of concepts had reached the acme of perfection. He had even surpassed Wang Kai. Therefore, although he had been fighting with Wang Kai for many times, Li Ning did not show any signs of losing. As expected of the fighting genius that Sendorio has his eyes on. If not for the fact that he was killed by the 7 Treasures Glazed sect when he was young and his vital energy was damaged, he could have at least become a soul Doluo with teacher's talent. He might even have the chance to become a titled Doluo. As he fought with Li Ning, Wang Kai's eyes flashed with a myriad of thoughts. In the future, if I want to conquer the Doluo continent, I'll need a lot of strong people. Although teacher Li Ning is old, if he can become a titled Doluo, he'll have a lifespan of at least 200 years. There's no need to worry. Coupled with his understanding of concepts, once he becomes a titled Doluo, he'll have a very good chance of forming a domain. His fighting strength will far surpass his peers, and he'll be a very good subordinate. Furthermore, I owe teacher Li Ning a debt of gratitude for teaching me. I should help him. As he thought of this, Wang Kai made up his mind. Even though the 1000 Dao stream couldn't cure Li Ning's injuries to his core, Wang Kai had obtained a few immortal herbs that could help Li Ning recover his vitality and improve his cultivation after returning from the Icefire Yin-Yang well. To this teacher who had trained him wholeheartedly, in addition to his strong fighting qualities, it was indeed worth giving him a precious treasure. In less than a few minutes, Wang Kai and Li Ning had exchanged dozens of blows. At this point, Li Ning's soul power was starting to dry up. After all, Li Ning did not have the power of the earth and the yin-yang body like Wang Kai. He was also a little old. After fighting for so long, he was a little overwhelmed. "Teacher, you've lost." Wang Kai didn't continue attacking after flicking away Li Ning's tiger soul blade. Instead, he spoke plainly. "Yes, I've lost. Congratulations, Wang Kai. You've surpassed your teacher. You've already surpassed him. Congratulations, you've become the first student to graduate from me, Li Ning." Although he was defeated, Li Ning's eyes didn't show any unwillingness. Instead, they were filled with gratification. As he watched Wang Kai grow, become stronger, and finally surpass him, Li Ning felt very proud. At this point, Wang Kai came to Li Ning's side and said, "Teacher, to thank you for teaching me, I'm prepared to give you a treasure." "Treasure? I appreciate your kind intentions. However, the Martial Soul Hall has protected me for so many years. How can I accept your gift?" Li Ning shook his head. Although he rejected it, his voice was still filled with joy. His disciple remembered his kindness and was even willing to repay him. How fortunate was that! After all, not only did the disciples or descendants of the elders that Li Ning had trained not thank him, some even complained. "No, teacher, take a look at what I'm going to give you first." With that, Wang Kai took out a transparent jade box from the small plane and opened it in front of Li Ning. In the middle of the jade box was a light purple lingji. The top of this lingji was like a lid. The lingji was purple in color. Below it was a jade-like stalk. Beside it were 9 tiny leaves. Once the jade box's lid was opened, a fragrance wafted out from the jade box. Li Ning breathed in slightly and immediately felt his body warm up. The hidden illness in his body seemed to have subsided. "Wang Kai, this is?" Looking at the jade box in Wang Kai's hand, Li Ning's eyes flashed with disbelief as he asked in bewilderment. Teacher, this is a 9th grade purple lingji. It's a top-notch treasure. It has the effect of strengthening one's foundation and cultivating one's qi. It can make up for teacher's hidden illness and insufficient qi in your early years. It can also increase teacher's life force and help teacher progress in his cultivation. Hearing Li Ning's question, Wang Kai answered in a deep voice. This world actually has such a miraculous item? Hearing Wang Kai's description, Li Ning was speechless. That's right. Wang Kai nodded. This is one of my gains from entering the secret realm. This is too precious. Wang Kai, you should keep it for yourself. Compared to me, you need this treasure more. Li Ning's eyes flashed with hesitation. In the end, he made up his mind to refuse. Teacher, I've already consumed other treasures. There's not much point in consuming this again. On the contrary, teacher is the one who needs this 9th grade purple lingji the most. Once you consume it, your hidden illness will be cured and you'll be a step closer to becoming a soul dolu. You can even stabilize your status as a titled dolu. Wang Kai shook his head and continued. If that's the case, then I won't accept it. Seeing that Wang Kai didn't need this herb, Li Ning didn't decline and accepted it. Chapter 143. Instructor Li Ning, after plucking the purple zoysia, first chew on the main body of the purple zoysia, then consume all of its leaves. Finally, use your soul power to refine the medicinal effects. Seeing that Li Ning didn't refuse, Wang Kai smiled and explained in detail how to consume the grade 9 purple zoysia to Li Ning. Thank you for your gift, Your Highness. Li Ning's eyes flashed with undisguised anticipation as he thanked Huo Yuhao sincerely once more. Then, he impatiently plucked the grade 9 purple zoysia and stuffed it into his mouth. He chewed and swallowed, then sat cross-legged on the ground and began to frantically refine it. Seeing that Li Ning had begun to refine the grade 9 purple zoysia, Wang Kai didn't want to waste any time. He condensed Shura's Dragonslayer's spear and began to cultivate at the side. After fighting with Tang Bufan and scanning the 81 moves of the Disorder's splitting wind hammer technique, although Little Light was still unable to deduce the 64 moves of the Limitless Blood Spear technique, he had already made some corrections to the 49 moves of the spear technique, eliminating some flaws and increasing a part of its power. Wang Kai then began to cultivate the improved spear technique. 2 hours passed, and Li Ning's aura continued to rise. He successfully broke through from rank 78 to rank 79. At this moment, the grade 9 purple zoysia's medicinal effects were still very abundant. They continuously rose from Li Ning's stomach and flowed into his tendons and meridians. Another 3 hours passed, and Li Ning's aura skyrocketed once more. This time, Li Ning had successfully broken through the Soul Sage bottleneck and reached rank 80. As long as he obtained his 8th soul ring, he would successfully become a soul dolu. Finally, Li Ning finished refining the grade 9 purple zoysia's medicinal effect. Then, he slowly opened his eyes with joy. On the surface, Lin Ning didn't seem any different from before, but if one were to observe carefully, one would notice that Lin Ning's face seemed to have become a few years younger. His eyes had become more spirited, and his skin was even more lustrous than before. His entire aura was even more profound and restrained. Congratulations, instructor, for successfully breaking through the Soul Sage bottleneck. I believe that in a few days, you will obtain a soul ring and become a soul dolu. Seeing that Li Ning had finished cultivating, Wang Kai hurriedly walked up and congratulated him with a smile. Thank you so much, Wang Kai. With an extremely excited look in his eyes, Li Ning continued gratefully, It's been more than 10 years. I didn't expect that my long-awaited wish would be fulfilled in such a way today. Furthermore, this 9th grade purple zoysia doesn't just replenish my vital energy, it also increases my lifespan. Coupled with the new life energy that I've gained after becoming a soul doluo, I even have a chance of reaching the pinnacle of titled Dolo. On the Doloa continent, the average lifespan of an ordinary person without soul force was around 60 years. Once a person became a soul master and obtained the nourishment of soul force, their lifespan could easily surpass the limit of 60 years and shoot up to around 80 years. After that, the lifespan of a soul cultivator would increase by another 5 years with each breakthrough. If nothing unexpected happened, a soul emperor could easily live to be 100 years old. Above a soul emperor, the lifespan of a soul cultivator would be greatly increased with each breakthrough. Once a soul cultivator became a soul sage and awakened their martial soul true body, their lifespan would increase to 120 years. If a soul cultivator could become a soul Doloa, their lifespan would reach 150 years. As for titled Doloa, even the lowest titled Doloa could theoretically live to 200 years old. Li Ning was already over 50 years old. For a soul sage, he was already considered middle-aged. Coupled with the hidden ailments in his body, it would be very difficult for him to make any more breakthroughs in the future. However, after consuming the 9th grade purple zoysia that Wang Kai had given him, not only did Li Ning remove his hidden ailments and replenish his vital energy, he even directly broke through to become a soul Dolu. 60 years old was still the prime of his life for a powerful soul Dolu. In addition to the additional life force that the 9th grade purple zoysia brought to him, Li Ning already had hopes of becoming a titled Dolu. It was no wonder that he was so excited. Then I wish you a speedy breakthrough, teacher, and a name for the Dolua Hall. Wang Kai nodded slightly and gave him his blessings. Lord Holy Sun, I can't thank you enough. You've given me such an opportunity, and I have no way of repaying you. I can only submit to you and serve you. At this moment, Li Ning also restrained his excitement after his breakthrough, and spoke to Wang Kai in a serious and sincere manner. That's great, teacher Li Ning. After hearing Li Ning's reply, Wang Kai revealed a look of joy on his face. I've just become a holy son, and I need the help of someone as powerful as you. Although you've just become a soul Dolua with your abilities, your fighting strength is definitely not inferior to that of an ordinary mid-tier soul Dolu. Right now, I only have the authority to deploy 4 soul Dolu red-robed bishops. It's really a blessing to have you join us. You're too kind, Lord Holy Sun. Li Ning was extremely grateful as he said, I'm just an ordinary soul Dolu. However, as long as I can help you, Lord Holy Sun, I won't hesitate even if I have to go through fire and water. However, right now, I need to resign from my position as a teacher to the High Priest, and head to the Soul Beast Forest to hunt soul beasts to obtain my 8th soul ring. After that, I'll officially become a soul Dolu. Once everything is ready, I'll report back to you, Lord Holy Sun. Then I wish you success in advance, Lord Holy Sun. A kind smile appeared on Wang Kai's face. Since you're willing to join me, I won't mistreat you. As a guest elder of the Holy Sun's mansion, you'll be able to obtain a large amount of cultivation resources from the Holy Sun's mansion every month. During normal times, you can also focus on your cultivation. I'll only ask you to show yourself when I need you. Thank you, Lord Holy Sun. I'll take my leave first. After he finished speaking, Li Ning couldn't wait to leave the secret training room. After being stuck as a soul sage for so many years, he couldn't wait to obtain a soul ring and officially become a soul Dolua. After he saw Li Ning leave, Wang Kai also put away his Shura's Dragonslayer spear and left the secret training ground. Right now it was almost 10 at night. After he returned to the Green Xian Hall, Wang Kai opened the bedroom door and saw Chihiro Snow wearing a black evening gown. She was sitting on a chair in the room, reading a thick book. Under the evening gown, Qian Rinshue's curves were even more pronounced. Her slender and long legs were faintly discernible under the semi-transparent black veil, and below that were exquisite and translucent leather boots. Under this dress, Qian Rinshue revealed a bit of enchanting charm under her noble and holy appearance. Her light golden hair was soft and tempting, Her facial features were exquisite and bright, her snow-white skin was sparkling and translucent, and her beautiful eyes were deep and serene, bright and flawless. She was truly a beauty that could cause the downfall of nations. "Schwerer, it's so late. Why are you still here?" Wang Kai was a little perplexed as he asked. "Brother Wang Kai, you're back." After she put down the book, Chihiro Snow stood up. Immediately, she leaned into Wang Kai's arms. Grandfather said that after the Holy Sun ceremony, the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect's envoy submitted a marriage contract to the Pope. They want to marry the sect leader's daughter, Ning Yuxian, to you as a co-wife. They want to form a marriage alliance with the martial Soul Hall, so, Chihiro Snow hesitated for a moment. After that, she moved closer to Wang Kai's ear and whispered, "I must leave the deepest mark in your heart. Tonight I'm yours. No matter what, Schwerer will always be number one in my heart." Gently carrying Chihiro Snow, Wang Kai came to the bedside and gently placed Chihiro Snow on the bed. Then, he gently took off her gown, revealing her snow-white skin. Looking at Chihiro Snow's perfect face and body, Wang Kai couldn't help but start to move his hands up and down. Under Wang Kai's gentle touch, Chihiro Snow couldn't help but let out a few coquettish moans. After the warm-up, an indescribable battle began between the two. The rogue explored the jade groove and dived into the spring pool. Without a doubt, this was going to be a sleepless night. Chapter 144. As soul masters with God martial spirits, Wang Kai and Chihiro Snow's physical strength was naturally not comparable to ordinary people. As the sky gradually turned white, Wang Kai reluctantly separated from Chihiro Snow. He gently hugged her in his arms and fell into a deep sleep with her. Now, Chihiro Snow's body had been imprinted with Wang Kai's brand. She had become Wang Kai's woman, his first woman. Thinking of this, although her mind was somewhat muddled, Chihiro Snow's face couldn't help but reveal a happy smile. When he woke up, it was already 10 in the morning. Under the frightening recovery ability of the yin-yang body, Wang Kai's physical strength and energy had already recovered. However, at the side, Chihiro Snow was still lying on his arm, sleeping soundly. Carefully placing Chihiro Snow's head on the pillow and gently covering her with a blanket, Wang Kai also got up and put on a bathrobe, and went to the bathroom not far away. Looking at the dried bloodstains and some indescribable viscous liquid on his body, Wang Kai once again recalled the charm and madness of last night. Ah, that was really a wonderful night. Immersing his body in the bathtub, immediately, the warm water in the bathtub turned slightly red. Picking up a piece of golden soap beside the bathtub, Wang Kai began to gently wipe the stains on his body. After wiping, Wang Kai closed his eyes and enjoyed this rare leisure time in the warm water. "Brother Wang Kai, good morning." About half an hour later, the door of the bathroom was gently pushed open again. Accompanied by a sweet greeting, Chihiro Snow also walked in wearing a bathrobe. Looking at Wang Kai, Chihiro Snow cutely yawned and immediately walked towards the bathtub. "Schwerer, good morning, come together." Looking at Chihiro Snow's slightly unsteady steps, Wang Kai recalled how she kept begging for mercy under his attacks last night. He couldn't help but reveal a trace of a smirk on his face. Then, he greeted her and invited her to take a bath together. Of course. Looking at Wang Kai's somewhat infuriating smirk, Qian Rinxue recalled last night's madness and her face couldn't help but turn red. However, since Wang Kai had issued an invitation, there was naturally no possibility of rejecting. Smiling sweetly, Chihiro Snow didn't hide it. Under Wang Kai's admiring gaze, she took off her bathrobe and her snowy body slowly sank into the bathtub. "Schwerer, how did you feel last night?" Glancing at Chihiro Snow's snowy white snow, Wang Kai smiled and teased her. "It should be not bad, right?" Chihiro Snow pondered for a moment, the six-winged angel brand in her eyes flashing, looking exceptionally cute and seductive. "What about the specifics?" Wang Kai moved to Chihiro Snow's side, gently wiping the bloodstains on her body while asking with a smirk. Specifics? At first, it was a little painful, but later, it felt like I was flying in the sky. Wang Kai Gij, you're amazing. Listening to Wang Kai's question, Chihiro Snow also answered truthfully. Then how about we fly again? As he said that, Wang Kai was already somewhat unable to control himself. Fly again? Let's forget it. There, it still hurts a little. Listening to Wang Kai's words, Chihiro Snow's face suddenly turned as red as a ripe apple, and said somewhat hesitantly, "No, the first time is unfamiliar, the second time is familiar. This time, let's enjoy it." Following Wang Kai's words, not long after, the sound of water splashing could be heard in the bathtub, and the redness in the bathtub seemed to have become a little more intense 2 hours later. "Wang Kai Gij, you're so naughty. Ugh, I'm a little tired, you can carry me." After climbing out of the bathtub, Chihiro Snow stretched her sore body and said coquettishly, "Of course." Revealing a sunny and satisfied smile, Wang Kai also carried Chihiro Snow and strode back to the bedroom. Looking at the conspicuous bloodstains on the heavily embroidered bedsheet, Chihiro Snow's cheeks couldn't help but slightly heat up again, but she still calmed down, took off the bathrobe, and changed into the black dress from last night. Leaning in Wang Kai's arms, she went downstairs to eat with him. Before she gave herself to Wang Kai, although Chihiro Snow and Wang Kai were incomparably close, there was still a thin layer of paper between the two of them. But now, she had broken through this layer, and truly became one with her most beloved Gij Wang Kai, never to be separated again. "Shwe from now on, you can directly live here." After the meal, Wang Kai rubbed Chihiro Snow's little hand, and also sent out an invitation. Listening to Wang Kai's words, Chihiro Snow also smiled and said, "Well, hearing Wang Kai Gij say so, Chihiro Snow is so happy." On the same day, Chihiro Snow moved into the profound Azure Mansion, and lived a happy life with Wang Kai. During the day, the two of them would cultivate separately. At night, they would share the same bed. Sometimes they would hug each other to sleep. However, at other times, Wang Kai would also help Qian Rinxue soar in the sky at night, enjoying supreme happiness. And when cultivating, Wang Kai still summoned the substitute puppet, and entered the small plane to cultivate. After killing Dugubo, Wang Kai obtained a lot of points, so he decisively spent 4 million points to raise the soul power concentration of the small plane to 5 standard soul power concentration. After the increase in soul power concentration, coupled with the improved mysterious heaven suppressing art, Wang Kai could obtain 400 source experience points every time he cultivated, and in addition to the medicinal efficacy, Wang Kai could obtain a total of 700 source experience points every day. At this speed, Wang Kai only needed a year to become a Soul Emperor, and had a chance to reach rank 62 before the Soul Master Tournament. Of course, according to Xiao Guang, under the influence of the world's will, Tang San, Shrek's 7 monsters, and even the other opponent's strength might not necessarily match what he remembered. But if he could become a Soul Emperor, Wang Kai had the information that he would definitely win. And in this period of time, Wang Kai had also successfully refined the Skull of Wisdom that he had just obtained. Although he would have to change it in the future, the price of the most ordinary 100,000-year soul beast's soul bone was still above a few million points, so Wang Kai temporarily felt that there was no need for him to spend his precious points on soul bones. After he became stronger, Wang Kai could rely on his own strength to hunt the 100,000-year soul beasts on the Dolua continent and obtain their soul bones. He could also use his points to upgrade his soul rings and extract new martial souls. After refining this soul bone, Wang Kai's spiritual power broke through again, and he reached the realm of doing 16 things at once. Such a strong spiritual power even temporarily surpassed the total number of soul skills Wang Kai had. However, Wang Kai also knew that once he became a Soul Emperor and awakened his third God Martial Soul, he would have a total of 18 soul skills to control, not to mention the future. Without a doubt, it was never too much to work hard to increase his spiritual power. After fusing with the skull of wisdom, Wang Kai also obtained a skill from this soul bone. Of course, because he had not learned the purple demon eyes, the skill that Wang Kai obtained was naturally not Tang San's purple divine light, but the original skill of this soul bone, spiritual shock. This skill allowed him to use Wang Kai's spiritual power to attack the enemy's soul. If the enemy's spiritual power was stronger, they would only feel dizzy, but if the enemy's spiritual power was too weak, they would directly faint under the attack of spiritual shock, and even their sea of consciousness would be ruptured, and they would bleed to death. However, the peace did not last long. A week later, Bibidon summoned Wang Kai to the pontiff's palace. Holy Son, the Seven Treasures Glazed sect has sent an invitation to you, inviting you to go on a diplomatic trip to the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. Sect Master Ning Fengji has also decided to marry his daughter, Ning Yuxian, to you. Seeing Wang Kai enter the conference hall, Bibidon slowly opened his mouth to inform him. Chapter 145. The peaceful days didn't last for long. A week later, Bibidon sent a special deacon to summon Wang Kai to the pontiff's palace. Holy Son, the Seven Treasures Glazed sect has sent you an invitation, inviting you to visit them. Sect Master Ning Fengji has also decided to form a marriage alliance with the Martial Spirit Palace and betroth his daughter, Ning Yuxian, to you. Bibidon's gaze turned cold as he watched Wang Kai walk into the meeting hall. Then, he slowly opened his mouth and informed him. Yes, I understand, Your Highness the Pope. Wang Kai nodded and replied in a deep voice. As the Holy Son of the Martial Spirit Hall, it was very normal for him to be sent to other sects and participate in some activities. Elder Ning Fengjun of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect had already invited Wang Kai in person. Wang Kai wasn't surprised by this at all. As for Ning Fengji's decision to betroth his daughter to Wang Kai was a little surprised. However, he was also a little happy. As a man of universal love, Wang Kai never rejected the fact that he had many beauties around him. Furthermore, he had heard of Ning Rongrong's beauty before. As Ning Rongrong's sister, Ning Yuxian must be an extremely beautiful person according to the law of inheritance. How could Wang Kai reject such a good thing? Not bad. Bibidon nodded in satisfaction as he looked at Wang Kai's serious expression. The golden alligator Doluo will accompany you on this trip as your guardian. At the same time, he will be in charge of discussing more cooperation matters. Of course, as one of the leaders, you must perform well. Bibidon nodded again to show that he understood what she meant. Then, he dismissed everyone and gestured for Wang Kai to come to a side hall. Wang Kai, I was talking to you as the Pope of Martial Spirit Palace. But now, I'd like to talk to you as Shui Er's mother. Standing in front of Wang Kai, Bibidon said solemnly, It is Shui Er's fortune to be able to marry such an outstanding, considerate, understanding, and optimistic person like you. I heard that after Shui Er got together with you, she broke away from her gloomy state. Thank you, Wang Kai. This is what I should do. Being able to be with such a beautiful and gentle girl like Shui Er is also my blessing. Hearing Bibidon's words, Wang Kai hurriedly replied. Yes, that's true. Although Shui Er's talent isn't as good as yours, she still has a god martial spirit. She's quite compatible with you. Sighing slightly, Bibidon continued, however, I'm also clear that no matter if it's your identity as the Holy Son of Martial Spirit Palace or your extraordinary talent, it's impossible for you to only have Shui Er by your side in the future. After pausing for a while, Bibidon continued, however, as Shui Er's mother, I hope that no matter how many girls you have by your side, you won't forget about Shui. You can't let her down or break her heart. Otherwise, even if she can forgive you, I won't let you off easily for what you've done. Do you understand? At this point, Bibidon's tone gradually became stern. Hearing Bibidon's solemn warning, Wang Kai also replied seriously, Mother-in-law, don't worry. Shui Er is a beautiful and outstanding girl. No matter what, she'll occupy an important place in my heart. I won't let her down. That's good. Don't forget your promise today. Then, in the name of the Pope, I wish you a safe journey to Seven Treasures Glazed Sect. The next morning, Wang Kai set off from Martial Spirit Holy City under the Golden Alligator Dolua's lead. He led several Soul Dolua red-robed bishops, over 10 Soul Sages white-robed bishops, and even more servants out of Martial Spirit Holy City. They hurried to Seven Treasures Glazed City, where the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect was located. They didn't speak along the way. 3 days later, the Martial Spirit Palace's team finally approached the outer city of Seven Treasures Glazed City. As the wealthiest sect on the Dolua continent, Seven Treasures Glazed City's buildings were indeed luxurious. They weren't inferior to the center of the Martial Spirit Palace, Martial Spirit Holy City. From afar, Wang Kai could already see the majestic city walls of Seven Treasures Glazed City, as well as the floating towers. These buildings were very majestic, but they also carried a trace of immortal energy. It was as if they were declaring to the Dolua continent that they couldn't be offended by anyone. It was true that the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect was only an auxiliary-type martial soul. The sect leader of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, Ning Fengji, was only a 79 soul sage. However, the Seven Treasures Glazed sect relied on its reputation as the continent's strongest auxiliary-type martial soul and its vast wealth to recruit a large group of powerful guests. 2 titled Dolua, 15 soul Dolua, and 86 soul sages. This was where the Seven Treasures Glazed sect's confidence came from. Not only that, but the 2 titled Dolua of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, Sword Dolua Chen Xan and Bone Dolua Gu Rong, were also very powerful. As veteran powerhouses who had been famous on the Dolua continent for a long time, Chen Xian and Gu Rong had both reached rank 95, and were far more powerful than Dugubo, whom Wang Kai had killed earlier. Not only that, Sword Dolua Chen Xian was also known as the Soul Master with the strongest offensive power. After admiring the magnificent Seven Treasures Glazed City for a short while, the city gates opened, and a few elders of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect immediately came forward to welcome Wang Kai and the rest to the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda in the center of Seven Treasures Glazed City. Cannon salutes were fired along the way, and the Martial Soul Hall's team quickly passed through the Seven Treasures Glazed sect's outer city and inner city, and finally arrived in front of the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda in the center of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. This was a huge building that was modeled after the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda. It was almost a few hundred meters in diameter, and about 100 meters tall. It was mainly green, and conveyed the beauty of an auxiliary-type soul master and the elements of nature. The building was made up of wood and stone, and combined with the design elements of hexagonal cornices in Chinese architecture, it was gorgeous and elegant, and was clearly the work of a master. When one looked at the top of the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda, one could see that it was so tall that it reached straight into the clouds. At the top of the pagoda was a huge pearl that had been taken from a 10,000-year sea soul beast. It symbolized the Seven Treasures Glazed sect's unshakable authority on the Dolua continent, and it vividly displayed the family's stability and foundation. The Martial Soul Hall's team slowly stopped in front of the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda's door. At this moment, the sect leader of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, Ning Fengji, who had been waiting for a while at the bottom of the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda, strode towards the Martial Soul Hall's team. When he saw the Golden Alligator Dolua and Wang Kai walking down from the 2 central carriages of the team, Ning Fengji also walked in front of them. Behind him, there were 2 handsome men with white hair and black hair, respectively. Chapter 146. The white-haired man was standing behind Ning Fengjun. He wore a spotless white robe, and his silver hair was combed neatly. There was an extremely sharp sword at his waist, and it was about 1 meter long. Although there were no decorations on the pure silver longsword, if one were to sense it carefully, they would have the illusion that it could cut through everything. This white-robed man's expression was very indifferent, and his eyes seemed to ignore everything around him. He just stood there quietly. Even though he didn't circulate soul force, just by standing there, he still gave others a type of immortal peak, proud of the world, as long as I, Unlan, exist, the heavens, crimson-edged spear, undying shield, cutting down all immortal kings, extinguishing the 9 heavens' terrifying aura. Sword Doloa Chen Xian was a rank 96 pinnacle Doloa, and a guest elder of the 7 treasures glazed sect. He stood at the peak of the Doloa continent. At his waist was his martial soul, the 7 murders sword. The man to Ning Fengjuan's right had a head of black hair, and he wore a gorgeous black coat. Compared to Chen Xian, this man was clearly taller, but he was a little skinny. He had a long ponytail behind his back, and a cynical smile appeared on his face from time to time. He gave off a detached feeling. Bon Dolua Gu Rong, one of the 2 pillars of the 7 treasures glazed sect. During the sect ranking tournament, he had fought to a draw with the Howling Sky Dolua, but lost to Tang San's father, the Vast Sky Dolua. Even so, his abilities were still very frightening, and he was also known as the world's number 1 defense, number 1 strangest. The 3 of them walked in front of the Golden Alligator Dolua and Wang Kai. After that, Ning Fengji slowly extended his hand and tightly shook the Golden Alligator Dolua's hand. Your Majesty Golden Alligator, welcome to the 7 Treasures Glazed Sect as the Martial Soul Emperor's representative. I also sincerely hope that the 7 Treasures Glazed Sect and the Martial Soul Hall can improve our relationship, so that we can continue to be friends. Ning Fengji revealed a kind smile on his face as he spoke in a gentle voice. You're too kind, sect leader Ning. To be fortunate enough to be invited to take a look at the richest 7 treasures glazed sect on the Dolua continent was indeed a great opportunity in life. Before I left, His Holiness the Pope and the Great Consecrator had also issued special instructions for this cooperation. They also had high expectations for us, hoping that we can further our cooperation. This must be the Holy Son of the Martial Spirit Palace, His Highness Wang Kai. Sure enough, His Highness the Holy Son was just as Elder Feng Jun and Luo Chen had said. I heard from Elder Ning Fengjun that even though the leader of the Clear Sky sect, Tang Bufan, used the legendary 81st move of the Wild Hammering technique, he was still defeated by you. You're really a young hero. Nice to meet you. After shaking hands with the Golden Alligator Doluo, Ning Fengjun walked over to Wang Kai and shook hands with Wang Kai with a smile on his face. He couldn't help but praise Wang Kai. You're too kind, sect leader Ning. Ning Fengjun clasped his hands tightly. Wang Kai also smiled in return. As a junior, it's my honor to be personally invited by you to visit the 7 Treasures Glazed sect. You're even willing to betroth your daughter to me. In my opinion, it's a blessing for the 7 Treasures Glazed sect that Yujin can marry you. There's no need to be too distant. Perhaps you'll have to call me father-in-law soon. Ning Fengjun patted Wang Kai's shoulder gently and said in a friendly manner, after seeing your appearance, talent, and style of conversation, I'm sure Yujin will be very satisfied. As long as she doesn't object, we'll be a family in the future. Chen Xian, Gu Rong, long time no see. Seeing that Wang Kai had finished greeting Ning Fengjun, the Golden Alligator Doluo also stepped forward and warmly greeted the Sword Doluo and Bone Doluo behind Ning Fengjun. Aya, Senior Golden Alligator, you're too kind. Compared to the Golden Alligator Doluo, the Sword Doluo and Bone Doluo were actually a generation younger. They were also slightly weaker. Seeing that the Golden Alligator Doluo had greeted them, the 2 of them hurriedly returned the greeting. Junior Wang Kai pays his respects to Sword Doluo and Bone Doluo. Unlike the Golden Alligator Doluo, Wang Kai didn't dare to directly address the 2 titled Doluo by their names. Instead, he bowed to Chen Xian and Gu Rong. Seeing that Wang Kai had bowed, the sword Doluochen Xien only nodded slightly in return. Gu Rong, on the other hand, smiled slightly. After that, he said in a cynical manner, "Your Highness, I think you're quite handsome. I feel that you're 70% as handsome as I was when I was younger. I'm sure that Yujin won't dislike you. Everyone, please. The Seven Treasures Glazed Sect has already prepared a welcome banquet for our esteemed guests in the main hall." After meeting the higher-ups, Ning Fengji also turned around and walked towards the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda. Seeing this, the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect's disciples also gathered around. They clustered around the people from the Martial Soul Hall and welcomed them into the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda. Just like the outside of the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda, the interior of the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda was also decorated beautifully. It was as luxurious as a crown. Step by step, they walked up the wide and dazzling staircase. The group of people also arrived at the main hall on the 9th level of the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda. After the group of people from the Martial Soul Hall were welcomed into the main hall, a group of maidservants hurriedly greeted the various esteemed guests of the Martial Soul Hall and the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect's elders who were participating in the banquet to take a seat. After that, they each carried a golden basin filled with the fragrance of roses to the elders and esteemed guests. After washing their hands, all kinds of delicacies and wine that were meticulously brewed were also served by the maidservants. Stir-fried dragon liver, braised thousand-year giant scallops, supreme-grade spirit rice. As the main guests of the Martial Soul Hall, Wang Kai and the golden alligator Doloa were also served with an abundance of ingredients. Most of the ingredients were taken from 1,000-year or even 10,000-year soul beasts, or precious herbs that had already been graded. The people who cooked these dishes were also masters of martial souls and culinary art. This made these precious ingredients even more delicious and tempting. A white-robed bishop from the Martial Soul Hall stepped forward and used his soul power to test the various dishes. After confirming that they weren't poisonous, he nodded at the golden alligator Dolo. The group of people from the Martial Soul Hall also started to eat heartily. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Ning Fengji clapped his hands. Suddenly, dozens of young maidservants wearing translucent veils walked up. Their snow-white bodies were filled with youthfulness, and they shone with an enchanting luster under the light of the pearls. Accompanied by melodious music, they started to dance. They displayed their perfect figures to the guests of the Martial Soul Hall and the elders of the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect. After the banquet ended, Ning Fengji and the golden alligator Doloa went forward to discuss the cooperation between the two organizations. Wang Kai was also led to Ning Yuxian's room by a few disciples of the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect. Chapter 147. After leaving the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda and walking through the Seven Treasures Glazed Inner City for a while, Wang Kai finally arrived at a large and beautifully decorated courtyard under the guidance of a few inner disciples who were in charge of leading the way. In front of the gate of the courtyard, there were two young maids in pink clothes with slender figures and delicate faces. "Please inform Miss Yuxian that the Holy Son of the Martial Spirit Hall, Wang Kai, is here to visit her." One of the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect's disciples stepped forward and politely informed the maids in front of the gate. "Ah, senior brothers and Holy Son, please come in. Xiaochan, hurry and inform young miss that Lord Holy Son has arrived." Hearing the words of the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect's disciple, a maid on the right politely invited them into the courtyard while instructing another maid to report to Ning Yuxian. The group walked into the courtyard one by one, passing through a bluestone path. Wang Kai discovered that the residence of the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect's little princess could be said to be a different world. Covering an area of several acres, Ning Yuxian's boudoir was surrounded by trees and exotic flowers and plants. It was a scene of abundant spiritual energy. Not only that, in the center of the courtyard, there was a large artificial lake, artificial mountains, flowing water, pavilions, terraces, and pavilions. Every detail was extremely exquisite. Perhaps even the royal gardens of the two great royal families would have such an aura at most? What a luxurious courtyard! Looking at the prosperous scene around him, Wang Kai couldn't help but nod his head. In such an environment, even he felt refreshed. Obviously, the scenery in this courtyard wasn't placed randomly. It was specially designed and contained a certain amount of feng shui. It could calm one's mind and was very beneficial to the growth of a soul master's spiritual power. One of the core cultivation methods of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, the heart of seven orifices required a strong spiritual power to succeed. As the daughter of the sect master, it wasn't strange that Ning Yuxian could enjoy such treatment. "Everyone, please take a seat." After leading Wang Kai and the rest to a small pavilion by the artificial lake in the courtyard, the maid invited them to sit down. Not long after, she brought out a plate of fresh spirit fruits that were still soaked in water and gracefully bowed. "Senior brothers, please enjoy. When the time comes, young Miss will meet with His Highness Wang Kai alone. I'll have to trouble you to wait here for a moment." "You're too polite." An inner disciple thanked her and immediately took a piece of spirit fruit from the plate in front of the table and stuffed it into his mouth. Although these spirit fruits weren't ranked, they still contained an abundance of soul force. They were treasures that were beneficial to a soul master's body. Because of this plate of spirit fruits was worth at least a few hundred gold soul coins. As inner disciples of the Seven Treasures Glazed school, the soul cultivators by Wang Kai's side were all soul exalt. But while several hundred gold soul coins wasn't an unattainable amount to them, they weren't willing to waste several hundred gold soul coins just to satisfy their appetite. After all, the cultivation of a soul cultivator required a large amount of resources. They had to be meticulous in their calculations and use their hard-earned gold soul coins wisely when they needed them the most. On the contrary, as the sect master of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, Ning Yuxian's status was even more honorable than the Soul King's. She was also very wealthy. A few hundred gold soul coins worth of spirit fruits really wasn't much to her. Of course, these inner disciples definitely didn't have the qualifications to receive the hospitality of the little princess of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. Because of this, they naturally wouldn't be too reserved when they had the opportunity to taste these high-class delicacies. Wang Kai smiled as he looked at these inner disciples. Perhaps this was the living situation of ordinary soul masters on the Dolua continent. If it weren't for the infinite martial soul system, Wang Kai might just be one of them. His situation might even be more difficult. However, it was all thanks to the miraculous infinite martial soul system that he was able to fight against the odds as a mere mortal. It even allowed him to have Qianrenxue, this extremely beautiful future angel goddess, as his wife. Just as Wang Kai was sighing with emotion, the servant girl called Xiao Chan ran over. She stopped in front of Wang Kai and curtsied. Soon after, she said in a low voice, "Sir Wang Kai, the young miss has finished dressing up. She's waiting for you in her room. Please follow me. Then I'll have to trouble you." Nodding slightly, Wang Kai followed behind Xiao Chan and walked towards the residence in the center of the courtyard. After passing through an elegant and secluded corridor, Xiao Chan indicated for Wang Kai to stop in front of a doorway that was carved with many intricate flowers. "Young miss, Sir Wang Kai has been brought here." Xiao Chan called out softly when they arrived at the doorway. "Yes, Sir Wang Kai, please come in." Soon after, a beautiful, mellow, and magnetic voice sounded from inside. Wang Kai lifted the curtain and walked into Ning Yuxian's room. Opening the curtain, in the middle of the boudoir stood a young girl wearing a pink gauze dress. This young girl's facial features were extremely delicate and graceful. Her skin was as white as ice and as white as jade. Her snowy skin was tender and smooth, and her figure was quite hot. Her enchanting curves rose and fell, and her pair of plump jade legs were long and straight. Her waist was small and slender, and she was graceful and moving. Looking at her face, a pair of delicate and cute little face was draped with light pink hair. Her eyebrows were like distant mountains, and when she blinked her light pink eyes, she inexplicably made people have a good impression of her. For a moment, Wang Kai was also lingering in her eyes, and his heart couldn't help but beat faster. Not only was she beautiful, but Ning Yuxian's cultivation also matched her status. At only 14 years old, this young girl was already a rank 37 soul elder. Compared to Wang Kai and Chihiro Snow, this progress was naturally a lot slower. However, Wang Kai and Chihiro Snow both had God's martial souls. How could ordinary soul masters compare to them? Considering Ning Yuxian's status as an auxiliary-type soul master, her talent was even more powerful. This concubine is Yuxian. Greetings to Sir Wang Kai. Seeing Wang Kai, Ning Yuxian's face revealed a tranquil smile. Sir Wang Kai is indeed as my father said. You're handsome and have a good cultivation. Yuxian feels that you're a good match for Yuxian. Looking at Wang Kai, Ning Yuxian felt her gaze being completely attracted to him. Although Wang Kai was only 10.5 years old, his appearance was very mature and handsome. He was bright and imposing, like an immortal that had descended to the mortal world. For a moment, Ning Yuxian was a little intoxicated. Miss Yuxian is truly an outstanding beauty. If someone were to say that Miss Yuxian is an immortal that had descended to the mortal world, I wouldn't doubt it at all. However, I already have a wife. If Miss Yuxian is willing to give herself to me, she can only be a secondary wife. What does Miss Yuxian think? Chapter 148. Young Master Wang Kai already has a wife? That's fine. Hearing Wang Kai's words, Ning Yuxian smiled faintly. She had a better impression of him because of his honesty. As she got closer to Wang Kai and breathed in his unique aura, Ning Yuxian felt as if her entire heart was about to be sucked away by Wang Kai. However, this wasn't the most important thing. When she got closer to Wang Kai, Ning Yuxian felt as if her 7 treasures glazed pagoda martial soul was slowly leaping out of her body towards Wang Kai. It was as if there was something about Wang Kai that attracted it. The 7 treasures glazed pagoda had a spirit. Since her martial soul was reacting like this, it meant that Wang Kai was the one destined for her. Before meeting you, my father had already told me about this. After calming herself down, Ning Yuxian's soft and gentle voice rang out in the room. I definitely mind about my status. Before meeting you, my father said that if I were to marry you, I could only be your second wife. Therefore, I was a little stubborn at the start and didn't want to meet you. After pausing for a moment, Ning Yuxian continued. However, after meeting you, I finally understand that there is such a talented person in the world. For someone as outstanding as His Highness Wang Kai, I think that even if I were to be his second wife, I would be willing. Furthermore, I also understand that for a truly outstanding man like young Master Wang Kai, how could he only have one woman by his side? Therefore, I have already made my decision. I am willing to entrust my life to young Master Wang Kai. For a beauty as beautiful as Miss Yuxian to be willing to be my second wife, I am truly honored. Seeing that Ning Yuxian had agreed, Wang Kai was secretly delighted. Towards a beauty like Ning Yuxian, who wouldn't like her? That's right, he was lusting after her body. Young Master is too courteous. To be able to marry young Master as a co-wife, this should be said to be Yuxian's fortune. As she spoke, Ning Yuxian had already taken small steps forward and grabbed Wang Kai's arm with her white wrist. Instantly, a kind of extremely warm and smooth feeling spread from her hand. Leaning against Wang Kai's body, Ning Yuxian felt extremely comfortable. She slowly said, I'm sure you know that the direct disciples of the 7 Treasures Glazed sect are all auxiliary-type soul masters. Even though we have the glory of being the #1 auxiliary-type martial soul, in reality, we will never be able to get rid of the flaw of not being able to attack. Therefore, the sect rules that the spouses of all direct disciples must be combat-type soul masters. Only with extremely powerful combat power can they protect us. I've heard of it. Wang Kai nodded. Yu Xian knows that young master defeated the Sword Dolua's direct disciple, Luo Chen, in the martial spirit hall. This is enough to prove young master's strength. However, according to the rules of the sect, if you want to marry a disciple of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, you have to pass 3 tests. After that, Ning Yuxian's clear voice sounded in Wang Kai's ears again. 3 tests? Naturally, there's no problem. Wang Kai revealed a smile on his face. Let's not talk about 3 tests. Even if there are 10 tests, so what? Yes, it's good that young master is confident. Ning Yuxian smiled faintly. Other than the tests, there are actually many disciples in the sect who have improper thoughts about me because of my identity. One of the Bone Dolua's disciples has been pestering me. If the sect leader agrees to betroth me to you as a co-wife, they will definitely want to challenge you. When that time comes, you have to be prepared. Thank you for telling me. I'm sure there's no soul master in the Soul King realm who can beat me. Wang Kai's lips curled into a confident smile. And after that? After that? If nothing unexpected happens, I'll have to call young master hubby and spend the night with young master, right? Ning Yuxian smiled sweetly. However, let me bring you to meet father first to express my attitude. Alright, let's go. Holding Ning Yuxian's hand, the two of them walked out of the room and into the courtyard. Seeing Wang Kai and Ning Yuxian walking out hand in hand so intimately, the faces of the inner disciples darkened. Ning Yuxian was their little princess. Although many of the disciples of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect knew that they couldn't marry Ning Yuxian, they still treated her as a goddess in their hearts. But now, their goddess was actually so intimate with an outsider. She was even going to marry this outsider soon. This made them jealous and bitter. They even felt some hostility towards Wang Kai. Seniors, please bring young Master Hubby and I to the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda. I want to meet father, Ning Yuxian said as she came to the front of the pavilion. 10 minutes later, in the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda's conference hall. Father, young Master Wang Kai and I fell in love at first sight. We had a great conversation. We are willing to become Dao partners and grow old together. Ning Yuxian bowed in front of Ning Fengji. Good, good, good. Hearing Ning Yuxian's reply, Ning Fengji said good 3 times before stopping. As a father, Ning Fengji didn't want to force his daughter to marry someone she didn't like. However, as the sect leader of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect and an experienced soul sage, he naturally knew that if Ning Yuxian could marry Wang Kai, it wouldn't just be her own fortune, it would be the fortune of the entire Seven Treasures Glazed sect. As a support-type soul master, the Seven Treasures Glazed sect's soul masters had to rely on the strong to bring out the best of their martial souls. Whether it was age, strength, potential, or appearance, Wang Kai was the best choice for Ning Yuxian. If Ning Yuxian could marry him, it would be beneficial for her growth and safety. Not only that, Wang Kai was the holy disciple of the Martial Soul Hall. If Ning Yuxian could marry him, the Seven Treasures Glazed sect and the Martial Soul Hall would be closer. Looking at the current situation in the Dolua continent, the Martial Soul Hall had already surpassed the Blue Lightning Tyrant sect, the Clear Sky sect, and the Star Luo Empire. Therefore, forming an alliance with the Martial Soul Hall was the best choice for the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. If the Seven Treasures Glazed sect could become closer to the Martial Soul Hall through marriage, it would be a great thing for the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. In the beginning, when she heard that she could only marry Wang Kai, Ning Yuxian was a little against it. Ning Fengji was also a little worried. However, he persuaded Ning Yuxian to meet Wang Kai. He didn't expect the results to be so good. At this moment, Wang Kai stepped forward and bowed as he spoke respectfully. Wang Kai and Miss Yuxian have fallen in love at first sight. Sect leader, please allow me to marry Miss Yuxian. Chapter 149. Of course. Ning Fengji nodded. I was the one who sent someone to propose the marriage to your highness. How could I possibly go back on my word and reject it? Seeing that your highness Wang Kai and Yuxian are in love with each other, I couldn't ask for more. After pausing for a moment, Ning Fengji continued, however, according to the rules of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, if a disciple of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect wants to marry someone else, that person has to prove that his fighting strength is heaven-defying. He has to be able to protect the disciple of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. The Holy Sun has once defeated Luo Chen, one of the strongest people in the previous generation of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. Naturally, I wouldn't doubt your Highness' strength. However, the rules can't be broken. Before the marriage is set, I would like to ask the Holy Sun to undergo the 3 tests of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. What do you think, Your Highness? No problem. Miss Yu Xian has already told me about the test. I'm already prepared. After hearing Ning Fengji's words, Wang Kai, who was already mentally prepared, nodded. Seeing that Wang Kai didn't have any objections, Ning Fengji led the disciples and elders of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect and the people from the Martial Soul Hall to the training ground at the back of the mountain of the Seven Treasures Glazed city. They were ready to start the test. After tens of minutes, Wang Kai and the rest arrived at the training ground at the back of the mountain. This was a spacious field built halfway up the mountain. It was about a few kilometers in diameter. There were many training equipment placed on it. On the training ground, there were many disciples of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect training their physiques or sparring with each other. On the training ground, there were many Seven Treasures Glazed pagoda glowing with light. They were providing buffs to their teammates. However, compared to the unified Seven Treasures Glazed pagoda martial soul, there were more strange beast martial souls and tool martial souls on the training ground. Although the Seven Treasures Glazed sect was one of the top 3 sects of the Dolua continent, it was a sect that used auxiliary-type martial souls as its core. The Seven Treasures Glazed sect would also recruit a large number of talented soul masters from the Heaven Do Empire and nurture them into the Seven Treasures Glazed sect to increase its fighting strength. Compared to the Clear Sky sect and the Blue Lightning Tyrant sect, the Seven Treasures Glazed sect didn't discriminate against commoner soul masters. As long as one joined the sect would treat them with sincerity. As a result, many young soul masters would apply to join the Seven Treasures Glazed sect every year. Even though it was difficult for soul cultivators without a Seven Treasures Glazed pagoda to enter the upper echelons of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, they were still able to receive the best nurturing from the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. They were even able to obtain sufficient resources from the Seven Treasures Glazed sect for their growth. Not only that, but the Seven Treasures Glazed sect also recruited many graduates from the various Soul Master Academies and gave them very good treatment. As a result, many Soul Masters chose to join the Seven Treasures Glazed sect as deacons or guest elders. Following Ning Fengji's command, Sword Doluochen took a step forward and used a bit of his soul power to shout, "Disciples of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, there are important guests here. Leave the training ground immediately." His voice, which was filled with vigorous soul power, immediately spread throughout the entire training ground. The soul masters on the training ground hurriedly stopped what they were doing and left the training ground in an orderly manner. The training ground was swept clean. Following this, the guests from the Martial Soul Hall and the elders of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect came to the spectator stand at the center of the training ground and sat down. If you want to marry a disciple of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, the first test is to withstand the full pressure of my martial soul true body for 10 minutes. Everyone sat down. At this moment, Ning Fengji stood up and said plainly, "Please begin, sect leader." As Wang Kai and Ning Fengji arrived at the viewing platform, Wang Kai gave a junior salute and said, "Wang Kai, although I'm only an auxiliary-type soul master, my soul power has reached rank 79. Not only that, but the Seven Treasures Glazed pagoda is the best tool soul on the Dolua continent. It gives me much more soul power than an ordinary soul master. Are you sure you don't want to use your martial soul possession when you take the test?" After hearing Wang Kai's words, Ning Fengji frowned slightly and reminded him. Thank you for your reminder, senior. After hearing Ning Fengji's words, Wang Kai hurriedly expressed his gratitude. However, I'm still confident in my own abilities. I'm willing to use my normal form to withstand your pressure. If I can't, I'll use my martial soul possession. What an arrogant kid. That's right. Although our 7 treasures glazed pagoda is only an auxiliary type martial soul, even a soul emperor would find it difficult to withstand our sect leader's pressure. This kid is too arrogant. It will be fun if he fails and can't get out of the embarrassing situation. After seeing Wang Kai's performance, the elders of the 7 treasures glazed sect started to discuss spiritedly. There were even a few elders who didn't like the Martial Soul Hall and didn't approve of the marriage alliance with the Martial Soul Hall. They rejoiced in Wang Kai's misfortune. On the other hand, Ning Yuxian looked at Wang Kai with admiration in her eyes. He was confident, domineering, and powerful. This was the kind of man she wanted to serve. Alright, His Highness Wang Kai is really confident. Then, prepare the time. After Ning Fengji finished speaking, 2 soul masters pushed a huge hourglass in front of them. At the same time, Ning Fengji crazily circulated his soul power. 7 treasures glazed pagoda. Following a low shout, Ning Fengji's body floated and spun in a circle. A beautiful 7-colored light was released from his body. The 7-colored light gathered in Ning Fengji's right palm. Suddenly, a 50-centimeter tall 7-colored pagoda appeared in his palm. It was exquisite and exquisite. At the same time, yellow, purple, black, and black soul rings rose from beneath Ning Fengji's feet and revolved around his body. The 7 treasures glazed pagoda in his hand shone even more brightly and radiated an aura of nobility. 7 treasures true body. The 7th black ring behind him flashed. The pagoda in Ning Fengji's hand spun 3 times and flew out. In the air, the small pagoda that was less than half a meter in size suddenly enlarged. Its volume also expanded continuously. In the blink of an eye, it became a 10-meter tall pagoda that floated in mid-air. A faint halo shot out from between Ning Fengji's eyebrows and directly entered the 7 treasures glazed pagoda. His body also shone with the same light as the 7 treasures glazed pagoda. Suddenly, an extremely vigorous pressure was released from the huge 7 treasures glazed pagoda in front of Ning Fengji. His Highness Wang Kai, then I'll start. After he was ready, Ning Fengji confirmed once again. Yes, senior, please. As he spoke, Wang Kai also gathered all the soul power in his body and waited for Ning Fengji's test. Time begins. After he finished speaking, Ning Fengji pointed with both hands. Suddenly, the 7 treasures glazed pagoda in the air pressed down on Wang Kai's body. At the same time, the soul master controlling the hourglass pulled out the partition from the hourglass that he had prepared beforehand. Chapter 150. The sand in the hourglass started to fall, and Ning Fengji's 7 treasures glazed pagoda had already covered Wang Kai's body. Suddenly, a heavy pressure was generated outside Wang Kai's body. Although the 7 treasures glazed pagoda was only an auxiliary type martial soul, it was just as Ning Fengji had said. As a top-tier tool soul, the pressure that the 7 treasures glazed pagoda exerted on Wang Kai was extraordinary. It could even suppress an average soul king or soul emperor. However, Wang Kai's abilities were naturally not at the level of an average soul king. In his opinion, Ning Fengji's pressure was at most similar to the pressure he felt when he absorbed the Blackrock Emperor Snake's soul ring. When he had just become a soul ancestor, Wang Kai could already resist such pressure. How could he resist it now? His face didn't turn red, and his heart didn't beat fast. Wang Kai stood still under Ning Fengji's 7 treasures glazed pagoda. In the blink of an eye, half of the sand in the hourglass had fallen. Wang Kai was still standing under the 7 treasures glazed pagoda. He was as stable as a mountain, and didn't even expend much soul power. On the other hand, Ning Fengji's back was already sweating slightly as he tried to maintain his 7 treasures glazed pagoda. The Holy Sun is really impressive. Yes, when I was a Soul King, how could I last so long under the pressure of a rank 79 Soul Sage? That's right. After all, he's the direct disciple of the head consecrator. How can he be simple? Don't forget, the head consecrator is one of the 3 exceptional Doloa in the world. Yes. As they watched Wang Kai's performance, everyone from the Martial Soul Hall nodded and smiled. They felt proud in their hearts. On the other hand, some of the elders from the 7 treasures glazed pagoda looked anxious. Ning Yuxian, who was watching from the side, was even more in love with Hui Yuhao. Only by following such a man could she truly unleash the power of her 7 treasures glazed pagoda. Father's foresight is indeed extraordinary. The sand in the hourglass fell bit by bit. As the last grain of sand fell, the 2 soul masters guarding the hourglass shouted, "Sect leader, 10 minutes are up." "All right, Your Highness, you have passed the first test. The Holy Sun's strength is indeed extraordinary. You were able to withstand my pressure so easily. You didn't even need to activate your martial soul possession," Ning Fengji said with a hint of admiration as he recalled the 7 treasures glazed pagoda. "Sect leader, you flatter me." Wang Kai cupped his fists and said, "Thank you, Lord Sect Leader, for showing mercy. I had to go all out to withstand the sect leader's pressure. Ordinary Soul Kings and even Soul Emperors wouldn't be able to move under the pressure of the headmaster." To his future father-in-law, Wang Kai naturally wouldn't tell him the truth. Ning Fengji's pressure was like a tickle to him. It had no effect at all. On the contrary, he was considerate enough to leave Ning Fengji a way out so that he wouldn't embarrass him. As expected, Ning Fengji smiled when he heard Wang Kai's reply. He turned to the disciples and elders of the 7 treasures glazed sect behind him and said, "Then, His Highness Wang Kai has successfully passed the first test. Do any of the elders have any objections?" "Sect leader, I have objections. Just now, His Highness Wang Kai said that you showed mercy, and I think so too. Even if a Soul King's strength is heaven-defying, how can he withstand your pressure for 10 minutes so easily? I'm not convinced. I want to apply to personally test the Holy Sun." At this moment, a guest elder of the 7 treasures glazed sect stood up and questioned loudly. "Elder Li Yu." Ning Fengji's face revealed a trace of anger. He was about to ask him to sit down when a few elders who didn't get along with the Martial Soul Hall stood up and said together, "Sect leader, we're also not convinced by the results of the test. Sect leader, please let Elder Li test him personally to show fairness." "Lord Holy Sun, this..." Ning Fengji pursed his lips awkwardly as he looked at Wang Kai. At this moment, Wang Kai shook his head, indicating that Ning Fengji did not mind. Soon after, he took a step forward and lifted his head to look at the group of elders. With a faint smile, he said, "Elders, since all of you are unconvinced and believe that Lord Sect Leader has gone easy on you, I will give all of you a chance. Those who wish to be tested, come at me together." "All right, Your Highness Holy Sun, you said it yourself. Sect Leader, we won't stand on ceremony then." After hearing Wang Kai's words, the elders revealed joy in their eyes. They came down from the spectator stands and surrounded Wang Kai. "Holy Sun, please. If you fail, please give up on your engagement with Miss Yu Xian and leave the 7 treasures glazed sect." After the leading elder finished speaking, the other elders looked at each other and summoned their martial soul true bodies one after another. They gathered their auras together. "With just the few of you? You're still far from enough. Come at me." Wang Kai smiled faintly, and the elders around him all revealed looks of anger. Immediately, they activated their soul force and crazily pressed down on Wang Kai's body. At the same time, the disciple in charge of the hourglass turned it upside down again. Time passed second by second. The sand in the hourglass dripped down. In the blink of an eye, more than half the time had passed. However, Wang Kai didn't move at all under the pressure of the 6 soul sages. He was calm and composed. On the other hand, the elders were sweating profusely because they were using their soul power to suppress Wang Kai. It was true that the pressure that the 6 soul sages exerted on Wang Kai was stronger than what Ning Fengji had exerted earlier. It wasn't inferior to the pressure of a low-tier soul dolu. However, that was only the pressure of a soul dolu. Wang Kai had even faced the pressure of Dugubo, who was a titled dolu. Why would he be afraid of the pressure of a few soul sages? Time's up. 10 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. The 7 treasures glazed sect's disciple, who was in charge of the hourglass, reminded them loudly. The 7 treasures glazed sect's elders could only helplessly withdraw their pressure and resentfully return to their seats. Although they wanted to attack Wang Kai in front of everyone, they didn't have the guts to do so. The famous golden crocodile Dolua from the Martial Soul Hall was in the spectators' stand. With their guts, they only dared to make things difficult for Wang Kai within the rules. Alright, I'll announce that you've passed the first test. Elderly, you've questioned me and made things difficult for an esteemed guest of the 7 treasures glazed sect. Your salaries will be deducted for half a year. Reflect on your actions. The admiration on Ning Fengji's face deepened when he saw that Wang Kai had passed the test like snow. Soon after, he opened his mouth and said, "This time, no one dared to step forward to question Huoyuhao." Ning Yuxian also felt that she had made a wise choice. Chapter 151. Your Highness Wang Kai, the second test that you have to face is a test of innate talent. Ning Fengji smiled faintly when he saw that none of the elders objected to him anymore. He continued speaking seriously. Test of innate talent? Wang Kai couldn't help but frown when he heard Ning Fengji's words. However, Ning Fengji continued to explain with a smile, Your Highness Wang Kai, I naturally don't doubt your innate talent. After all, you're the direct disciple of the Martial Soul Hall's Her Majesty. However, this is how our 7 treasures glazed sect is. I sincerely hope that you can understand. Alright, since it's sect Master Ning's request, there's no harm in me taking the test. Wang Kai nodded slightly and agreed plainly. Alright, please wait for a moment, Your Highness. Ning Fengji took 3 steps back after he finished speaking and activated the spatial soul tool on his middle finger. In the next moment, a strange soul tool in the shape of a jade tablet that was 3 meters tall appeared in front of Wang Kai. This soul tool was mainly made from jade. There were many complicated patterns engraved on it, and these patterns flickered with a layer of faint purple light. It was extremely magnificent and beautiful. There were a total of 9 apertures on the front of this soul tool. They were arranged in a 1 shape from top to bottom. The apertures on the front were larger and the soul power aura that they exuded was also denser. This is? Wang Kai was a little curious as he looked at this soul tool. Your Highness, this is a magical soul tool that has been passed down in our 7 treasures glazed sect for a long time. It's called the Xianyuan Talent Stone. It can test a soul master's innate ability and talent. As you can see, there are a total of 9 apertures on the front of this Xianyuan Talent Stone. When it's time to take the test, a soul master only has to pour his soul power into the jade tablet. After pouring in soul power, the soul array on this Xianyuan Talent Stone will activate. As a result, the apertures on its surface will light up according to the soul master's innate ability. Ning Fengji explained patiently after hearing Wang Kai's question. If a soul master's aptitude can advance to become a soul master, then the first aperture on the talent stone will light up. Every time a soul master's aptitude increases by a rank, a new aperture on the Xianyuan talent stone will light up. In other words, if a soul master can light up all 9 apertures, it means that he has the potential to become a titled dolu. What a miraculous soul tool! After hearing Ning Fengji's explanation, Wang Kai's interest was piqued. The 7 treasures glazed sect was indeed one of the top 3 levels. They actually had such a magical ancient treasure that even the martial soul hall didn't have. At this moment, Ning Fengji continued, normally, this Xianyuan talent stone is used by the Seven Treasures Glazed sect to test their innate ability when they recruit disciples. If a soul master wants to join the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, he has to light up 5 apertures. If someone wants to marry a disciple of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, he has to light up at least 7 apertures. Prince Wang Kai, the person you want to marry is the little princess of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. Therefore, you have to light up all 9 apertures. However, I believe this is as easy as pie for you, holy son? After he finished speaking, Ning Fengji chuckled as he looked at Wang Kai. Of course. Wang Kai nodded confidently. After that, he placed his right hand on the Xianyuan talent stone and channeled his soul power. As Wang Kai's soul power poured in, the Xianyuan talent stone trembled slightly. After that, the first aperture on the Xianyuan talent stone turned from colorless to a dense red. The second aperture, the third aperture. In a few seconds, the 7 apertures on the Xianyuan talent stone lit up one after another. What a powerful innate ability! Ning Fengji and the elders of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect were astonished as they watched the changes on the Xianyuan talent stone. The faster the apertures on the talent stone lit up, the stronger the innate ability of the soul master being tested. Wang Kai's ability to light up 7 apertures so quickly was a miracle that even the 2 peak Dolua guardians of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, the sword Dolua Chen Xian and the bone Dolua Gu Rong, couldn't do it. After the 7th aperture lit up, the 8th aperture on the Xianyuan talent stone lit up almost at the same time. In less than 3 seconds, its color changed from yellow to orange, and then to a bright blood red. After the 8th aperture lit up, a few seconds later, the 9th aperture on the Xianyuan talent stone also started to light up slowly under the watchful eyes of the elders of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. Compared to the previous 8 apertures, the 9th aperture on the Xianyuan talent stone was undoubtedly much larger. It wasn't even smaller than the previous 8 apertures combined. Naturally, the amount of soul power and time needed to light it up was much more than the previous 8 apertures. Even Wang Kai took 5 seconds to light up the 9th aperture on the Xianyuan talent stone. Suddenly, streaks of rainbow-colored light shone out from the Xianyuan talent stone. After the rainbow-colored light, the 9th aperture on the talent stone was still becoming denser and denser. In less than 10 seconds, it had turned from yellow to orange. The 9th aperture on the Xianyuan talent stone had turned orange. This meant that Wang Kai's innate ability had surpassed that of an ordinary titled Dolua, and he had the potential to become a peak Dolu. Ning Fengji wasn't surprised at all. After all, as the holy son of the martial spirit hall and the future pope, how could he convince everyone if he couldn't even become a peak Dolu? Indeed, as Ning Fengji had expected, after the 9th aperture on the Xianyuan talent stone turned orange, its color continued to darken at a visible speed. After another dozen seconds, a streak of dense blood-red color finally formed in the center of the talent stone. After that, it continued to spread in all directions, and finally occupied the entire talent stone. Peerless Dolu. Ning Fengji couldn't help but exclaim softly when he saw the change in the Xianyuan talent stone's color. Yes, if the 9th aperture on the Xianyuan talent stone turned red, it only meant one thing. The soul master who was being tested had the innate ability of a peerless Dolu. As long as he didn't die midway, there was a very high chance that he would become a peerless Dolu. When they saw the patch of blood red in the talent stone, the elders of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect couldn't help but reveal a look of astonishment from the corners of their eyes. Other than the elders of the martial spirit hall, who were extremely stubborn in their opposition, the other elders couldn't help but admire Ning Fengji's decision. A peerless Dolua was someone who truly stood at the pinnacle of the Dolua continent. On the Dolua continent where gods couldn't descend, and where the ancient gods lived in seclusion, A peerless Doloa was almost the strongest person on the Doloa continent. To be able to form a relationship with a future peerless Doloa was definitely something that would only benefit the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. Just as the elders were still in a state of astonishment and joy, the Xianyuan talent stone in front of Wang Kai suddenly trembled slightly. After that, a series of faint cracking sounds came from the Xianyuan talent stone. This is... Ning Fengji was a little confused as he looked at the Xianyuan talent stone in front of him. After all, the Seven Treasures Glazed sect hadn't mentioned anything about such an abnormal situation ever since they had obtained this Xianyuan talent stone. Crack! At this moment, an even louder sound came from the Xianyuan talent stone. After that, under the watchful eyes of Ning Fengji and the elders of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, this soul tool that had been passed down for thousands of years in the Seven Treasures Glazed sect started to crack. Finally, it broke into two from the middle. Chapter 152. How is this possible? Ning Fengji's eyes flashed with disbelief as he looked at the Xianyuan talent stone in front of him. His mouth was so wide open that a fist could be stuffed in. Elder, this... Wang Kai revealed an awkward expression as he looked at the two halves of the jade stone on the ground. He scratched his head in embarrassment. Could it be that his abilities were so off the charts that he caused the Seven Treasures Glazed sect's Xianyuan talent stone to explode? Thinking about it carefully, that might be the case. According to Ning Fengji, this Xianyuan talent stone could only detect the talent of an exceptional Doloa at most. However, both of his martial souls were top-tier gods' martial souls. No matter which one he took out, his final talent far exceeded that of a titled Dolu. This Xianyuan talent stone probably couldn't withstand his domineering aura, which was why it exploded after he tested it. Wang Kai gradually felt relieved as he thought of this. At this moment, Ning Fengji also recovered from his shock. After all, he was the leader of a sect. He quickly calmed himself down and coughed twice. After that, he said, "Your Highness Wang Kai, there's no need to be nervous. This Xianyuan talent stone has been in the Seven Treasures Glazed sect for quite some time. Perhaps this Xianyuan talent stone has been in disrepair for a long time?" As he spoke, Ning Fengji thought of something and kept the broken Xianyuan talent stone in his spatial ring. After that, he said plainly, "Regarding this Xianyuan talent stone, I'll look for a few consecrated in the sect who are well versed in soul tools and see if they can fix it. However, all in all, Your Highness Wang Kai has successfully passed the second test. Now, please accept the third test, Your Highness Wang Kai." After pausing for a moment, he continued, "According to the rules of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, if someone outside the sect wants to marry the sect leader's daughter, he has to prove that his abilities have surpassed other Seven Treasures Glazed sect disciples of the same level. Since Your Highness Wang Kai has already defeated Luo Chun, I think there's no need for this test to continue. Does anyone have any objections?" After he finished speaking, Ning Fengji's gaze swept across all the disciples on the spectator stand. "Lord Sect Leader, this disciple is suspicious." Right at this moment, a rather handsome young man in green robes stood behind the Bone Dolu. He bowed toward Ning Fengji before speaking in a deep voice. "Nonsense. Qin Yi, you are already a Soul Emperor. Why are you still going to join in the fun? Are you trying to throw away Master's face? Sit down for me." Looking at Qin Yi, Gu Rong's face reveals a trace of anger as he says sternly, "No, Master, I have admired Miss Ning Yuxian for a long time, please give me a chance. I'm willing to seal my cultivation to that of a rank 55 Soul King and fight with Wang Kai." Hearing Gu Rong's words, the young man's voice revealed a hint of pleading. Alas! Hearing Qin Yi's words, a trace of helplessness appears on Gu Rong's face. Forget it. I'll indulge you this once." After he finished speaking, Gu Rong stood up and clasped his hands towards Ning Fengji. "Lord Sect Leader, my disciple Qin Yi is willing to seal his cultivation to fight with Wang Kai. What do you think?" "This, Your Highness Bone Dolu." Hearing Gu Rong's words, Ning Fengji's face revealed a trace of difficulty. Towards the request of the Bone Doluo, who was one of the only two titled Doluo in the sect, he naturally could not reject it. However, towards Wang Kai, who had the qualifications of a transcendent Doluo, he also agreed that he did not want to offend him. Lord Sect Leader, it's fine. Seemingly seeing Ning Fengji's difficulty, Wang Kai smiled faintly towards Ning Fengji. After that, he turned to Qin Yi, who was behind Gu Rong. Qin Yi, since you are willing to seal your cultivation to that of a Soul King to fight with me, how can I be afraid of a battle? Furthermore, I don't need you to suppress your cultivation to rank 55. Even if you suppress it to rank 57, it won't be a problem for me to defeat you. As expected of the man that I, Ning Yuxian, have taken a fancy to. Looking at Wang Kai's domineering, confident and calm appearance, Ning Yuxian's heart could not help but beat faster. It was as though there was a little deer in her heart that was jumping around. Her gaze was filled with admiration and admiration. On the other side, hearing Wang Kai's reply, Qin Yi's face revealed a trace of joy. All right, this is what you said. At this moment, Gu Rong, who was in front of him, shook her head unhappily. A gentleman's word cannot be taken back. Qin Yi, since you said that you will suppress your cultivation to rank 55 to fight with Wang Kai, how can you go back on your words? Don't tell me that as a Soul Emperor challenging a Soul King, you still feel that it is not shameful enough? Hearing Gu Rong's words, Qin Yi's face could not help but turn slightly red from embarrassment. After that, Gu Rong placed her right hand on Qin Yi's tendons and injected vigorous soul power. Pulling back her right hand, Gu Rong said indifferently, "All right, I have already sealed your soul power to rank 55. At the same time, I have sealed your 6th soul ring. Go." Many thanks to Master for giving me this chance. Qin Yi thanked Gu Rong gratefully as he walked towards Ning Fengji. Looking at Qin Yi's figure, Gu Rong shook her head helplessly. Haze, silly boy. How would Gu Rong not know that her disciple has always had feelings for Ning Yuxian? It's just that the two of them are almost a generation apart in age. That Ning Yuxian only treated Qin Yi as an elder brother. Originally, if Qin Yi did not expose his feelings, perhaps Ning Yuxian could still treat him as an elder brother. But now Gu Rong looked at Qin Yi's back view with some pity. Perhaps he can't even be the role of an elder brother. At this moment, Qin Yi had already walked in front of Ning Fengji and bowed towards Ning Fengji before turning towards Wang Kai. Standing still, Qin Yi cupped his hands towards Wang Kai before saying, "Your Highness Wang Kai, let's not beat around the bush. I have always liked Miss Yuxian. Thus, today I came to defeat you. I hope that if I win in the end, you will stop pestering Miss Yuxian." Hearing Qin Yi's words, Ning Yuxian's face revealed a trace of anger. How can there be such an irritating person? Originally, the observant Ning Yuxian had already noticed that Qin Yi had an unusual feeling towards her. It's just that she still treated this big brother who had played with her since young as her elder brother. And now, seeing Qin Yi actually do such an action, the last trace of good impression she had of him was almost extinguished. "Brother Qin, you are wrong. Miss Yuxian is a living person. How can I use her happiness as the wager for our battle?" Wang Kai looked at Qin Yi indifferently as disdain flashed across his eyes. By the side, hearing Wang Kai's words, Ning Yuxian's heart could not help but feel warm. Hearing Wang Kai's reply, Qin Yi raised his voice. Just now you were still talking big. Now you are afraid?" Looking at Qin Yi, Wang Kai did not say anything else as he retreated and cupped his fist. There is no need to say any more. Let's see who is the real deal. Chapter 153. Wang Kai, Rank 57 Battle Soul King. Martial Soul, Shura. Please give me your guidance. After speaking, Wang Kai circulated his soul power. In an instant, the image of Emperor Shura's martial soul appeared behind him and rapidly approached his body. Qin Yi, Rank 61 Battle Soul Emperor. Martial Soul. Holy fire-spiked mace. Please give me your guidance. As he spoke, Qin Yi crazily condensed his soul power. The fiery red soul power gathered in his right hand and finally condensed into an enormous mace that was about 1.5 meters long and completely red. When this enormous mace appeared, Wang Kai immediately felt that the surrounding temperature seemed to have risen by quite a bit. Looking at the mace in Qin Yi's hand, outside of the spikes on the mace, there was a layer of orange flames burning fiercely. Following the appearance of the martial soul in his hand, 5 yellow, purple, and black soul rings appeared behind Qin Yi. His aura also rose sharply. Qin Yi, the strongest disciple in the previous generation of 7 treasures glazed sect. He was a genius whose innate soul power had reached rank 9. Qin Yi was not born in a commoner's family in 7 treasures glazed city. However, after proving his talent, he was taken in by the Bon Dolois and became one of Gu Rong's personal disciples. After becoming Gu Rong's disciple, he received guidance from a great teacher and a large amount of cultivation resources. Qin Yi's cultivation also improved by leaps and bounds. At the age of 28, he successfully broke through to Soul Emperor. Not only that, Qin Yi's actual combat ability was also very strong. He had won first place in the 7 Treasures Glazed Sect's annual disciple competition many times. He also had the qualifications to become a titled Dolu. However, in front of Wang Kai, this Qin Yi who had the potential to become a titled Dolu was not enough. Emperor Shura possess. Following Wang Kai's thought, the Emperor Shura martial soul behind Wang Kai had already completely fused with his body. Suddenly, the vigorous blood-red Shura's murderous aura seeped out of his body and condensed into pieces of black Shura's scales, protecting Wang Kai's body. At the same time, Shura's claw, Shura's horn, and Shura's thorn grew out of Wang Kai's body. A layer of raging black Shura flames ignite outside of Shura's scales. Following the possession of Emperor Shura, Wang Kai's aura rapidly rises and in a few seconds, he completely overshadowed Qin Yi. How is this possible? This brat's aura is so strong. Sensing the change in Wang Kai's aura, Qin Yi was secretly alarmed in his heart. There was even a faint trace of regret. However, there is no turning back. Since he has already come to the training grounds, he and Wang Kai can only fight. While thinking, Qin Yi has already raised the mace in his hand and crazily revolves his soul power. Holy Flame Meteor Strike. Rays of blazing flames condense on the Holy Flame mace in Qin Yi's hand. He immediately waves the mace fiercely as the endless Holy Flame carries a horrifying might and rushes towards Wang Kai. Insignificant skill. Snorting coldly in his heart, Wang Kai also crazily revolves his soul power. Shura's Dragon Killing Spear. With a thought, the blood-red Shura's Dragon Killing Spear appears in Wang Kai's hand. After which, both of his hands move and aim at the holy flame in the sky and crazily stabs out. Shura's Blood Fiend Spear Technique. In a blink of an eye, Wang Kai had already stabbed out 7 times. The Azura Dragon-slaying spear slashed through the air, leaving behind several cold crimson moons. Surging Azura baleful aura surged toward the holy flames in the distance before exploding into a gigantic fireball. Qin Yi's attack was easily blocked by Wang Kai. Now it is my turn. After defeating Qin Yi's attack, Wang Kai once again waves his arm as his spear shoots out like a dragon and attacks towards Qin Yi. Come at me. Looking at Wang Kai, Qin Yi also waves the mace in his hand and sends out a burst of blazing wind. The spear and mace collide and instantly the blazing flames and the blood-red Shura's murderous aura collide intensely, giving off a sizzling sound. The two of them both retreat half a step and immediately clash again. In the center of the training ground, the fiery red mace and the blood-red spear are continuously clashing back and forth, causing sparks to fly in all directions. In a blink of an eye, Wang Kai and Qin Yi have already fought for over 30 moves. At this moment, Wang Kai's Shura's dragon-killing spears aura has already accumulated to a very scary level. He himself is also becoming more and more courageous as he fights. On the other hand, although Qin Yi repeatedly uses his soul technique in an attempt to counterattack, he is still beaten up by Wang Kai until he is unable to retaliate at all. The palm of his hand that is holding the sacred fire mace is already sweating and his back is drenched in sweat. The gap is too big. That's right. I feel that in less than 10 moves, Qin Yi will be defeated. Alas, compared to Martial Spirit Hall, our Seven Treasures Glazed sect is still lacking by a level. Seeing the situation of the battle, the elders of Seven Treasures Glazed sect let out a helpless sigh. However, there are also a number of elders who look at Ning Fengji in admiration. How is this possible? I am the number 1 genius of Seven Treasures Glazed sect and also a soul emperor. Even if I seal my soul power, how is it possible that I am unable to defeat a small soul king? His heart is in a mess as the mace technique in Qin Yi's hand gradually loses its order. Qin Yi, you have lost. After sending the sacred fire mace in Qin Yi's hand flying, Wang Kai and Shura thrust their dragon-killing spear forward and the blood-colored spear tip points towards Qin Yi's throat. Yes, I have lost. Qin Yi's eyes reveal a trace of desolation as he has no choice but to surrender. Enough, Qin Yi, go down. You have really disappointed me too much. For provoking an esteemed guest on the spot, I punish you to be locked up in Jingxin Valley for a year. Without special summons, you are not allowed to leave. Do you have any objections? At this moment, Ning Fengji stands up and orders sternly. Disciple has no objections. Qin Yi silently nods his head and obediently leaves the training ground. Good, Wang Kai. Congratulations on perfectly passing the 3 tests. You have already obtained the recognition of all of the soul masters in our Seven Treasures Glazed sect. 3 days later, I will hold a wedding banquet in the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda and officially announce this joyous occasion. Seeing Qin Yi's figure leave, Ning Fengji walks over to Wang Kai's side and says cheerfully, "Then many thanks to Lord Sect Leader for bestowing this marriage." As he removes Emperor Shura's possession state, Wang Kai keeps Shura's dragon-killing spear and thanks him. No need to be polite. In the future, we will be a family. Wang Kai, there is no need for you to treat me as an outsider. In the future, just call me father-in-law will do. Hearing Wang Kai's reply, Ning Fengji strokes his beard and says cheerfully. Wang Kai smiles and replies, "Yes, father-in-law." At this moment, Ning Fengji also calls out softly towards the viewing platform, "Yuxian." Ning Yuxian quickly walks over to Wang Kai's side and says softly, "Lord Father, Sir Wang Kai." At this moment, Ning Fengji smiles faintly and says to the golden couple in front of him, "Yuxian, these few days, bring His Highness Wang Kai around Seven Treasures Glazed City and Seven Treasures Glazed Mountain. At night, if Sir Wang Kai does not mind, you can stay in Yuxian's room first and get to know each other better. What do you think?" "Yes, father-in-law, father." Hearing Ning Fengji's words, Wang Kai and Ning Yuxian's faces turn slightly red, but they both nod their heads and agree. Chapter 154. Father-in-law, I have a presumptuous request. Do you think you can agree to it? At this moment, Wang Kai smiled again and asked, "My good son-in-law, if you have any requests, just say it." Seeing Wang Kai's request, Ning Fengji chuckled and nodded in response. "It's like this. Father-in-law, I heard that the Seven Treasures Glazed sect has been passed down for thousands of years, and there are countless treasures and ancient books in the sect. Therefore, I want to enter the Seven Treasures Glazed sect's book collection hall to take a look. I wonder if the sect leader can give me this opportunity?" Hearing Ning Fengji's reply, Wang Kai couldn't help but smile. "My good son-in-law wants to enter our Seven Treasures Glazed sect's book collection hall to take a look? Naturally, there's no problem." Hearing Wang Kai's request, Ning Fengji immediately nodded in agreement. Immediately after, he took out a jade token from his spatial soul tool and handed it to Wang Kai. My good son-in-law, with this token, you can enter our 7 Treasures Glazed Sex Book Collection Hall. Other than the core 7 orifices glazed heart and stellar soul-forging divine technique, you can read the rest of the books. Thank you, father-in-law, then it would be impolite for me to refuse. Wang Kai revealed a trace of unconcealable excitement on his face as he thanked Ning Fengji respectfully. The 7 Treasures Glazed sect was a powerful sect with a long history. Naturally, the 7 Treasures Glazed sect's soul masters must have collected or compiled many secret manuals. With these books, he might be able to let Xiao Guang's deduction of the world's laws to a higher level. At that time, whether it was continuing to optimize the mysterious heaven suppression technique or deducing the limitless blood fiend spear technique, Xiao Guang would definitely have a new breakthrough. It's fine. Since we are all family, what's wrong with you wanting to take a look at our 7 Treasures Glazed Sex Book Collection Hall? Seeing Wang Kai's delighted look, Ning Fengji nodded and smiled. As the sect leader of the 7 Treasures Glazed sect, Ning Fengji was also a person who loved books. Seeing Wang Kai make such a request, he couldn't help but have a better impression of Wang Kai in his heart. By the way, I'll give you this bar too, Ning Fengji said with an amiable expression as he took out another golden metal token from his space ring. This is? Looking at the golden token in Ning Fengji's hand, Wang Kai's eyes revealed a trace of confusion, while Ning Yuxian beside him revealed a trace of surprise. Lord Father, why did you give the precious treasure pavilion's token to young Master Wang Kai? Looking at the token in Ning Fengji's hand, Ning Yuxian asked Ning Fengji with some surprise. Of course it's part of your dowry. Looking at Ning Yuran, Ning Fengji replied with a smile. Soon after, he turned to Wang Kai and said, Son-in-law, since you're willing to marry Ran Air, I'll give you this precious treasure pavilion token as Ran Air's dowry. Take this command token and you can choose any 3 treasures from our 7 Treasures Glazed Sex Treasure Pavilion. At that time, you have to choose properly. Thank you, father-in-law, for your generous gift. Wang Kai's eyes couldn't help but flash with a trace of ecstasy. As a sect with 1,000 years of history, the 7 Treasures Glazed Sex Treasure Pavilion must have many treasures. Although he could only take 3 with Xiao Guang's database and his detection eye, he would definitely gain something. Alright, Ran Air, then bring young Master Wang Kai to the book collection hall first. Since your marriage has been set, I'll have to talk to His Majesty Golden Crocodile about the future cooperation between our 7 Treasures Glazed sect and the Martial Spirit Palace. Seeing Wang Kai take the precious treasure pavilion token, Ning Fengji immediately said to Ning Yuxian and Wang Kai. Half an hour later, in the 7 Treasures Glazed Sex Book Collection Hall. Young Master Wang Kai, our 7 Treasures Glazed Sex Book Collection Hall is here. Arriving in front of a tall building, Ning Yuxian stopped in her tracks. Similar to the 7 Treasures Glazed Pagoda, this book collection hall was also a tall 7 Treasures Glazed Pagoda with a diameter of about 50 meters and a height of more than 10 meters. At the entrance of the pagoda, there was a huge signboard with the words Book Collection Hall written on it in bold and forceful strokes. Thank you, Ran Air. Looking at the book collection hall in front of him, Wang Kai gently touched Ning Yuxian's light pink hair and replied with a smile. Young Master Wang Kai's hand is very warm. Feeling the touch on her forehead, Ning Yuxian couldn't help but blush. She was a little shy and a little excited at the same time. Alright, let's go in. 100 Years gently held Ning Yuxian's jade-like arm as Wang Kai pulled her into the book collection hall. Miss Ning, Your Highness Holy Son. A gray-haired old man who was meditating stood up when he saw the two of them walk into the library. He spoke in a deep voice and released a faint, oppressive aura. When Huoyu Hao used his detection eye, he discovered that this ordinary-looking old man was actually a Soul Dolu. Grandpa Lu, Today I brought young Master Wang Kai to the book collection hall to take a look at our 7 treasures glazed sex book collection hall. After speaking, she turned to Wang Kai and said gently, "Young Master Wang Kai, this is one of our 7 treasures glazed sex guest elders. He is also the guardian of the book collection hall. Grandpa Lu Gongxing, quickly show Grandpa Lu the token that father gave you." "Yes, Senior Lu. This is the token that sect Master Ning gave me." After speaking, Wang Kai took out the jade token from his spatial soul tool and passed it to Lu Gongxing. Lu Gongxing reached out to take the token and looked at it for a moment. After that, he nodded and handed the token to Wang Kai. "Yes, there's no problem with this token. Little friend, please come in." According to the specifications of this token, other than the 7th floor of the book collection hall where the core ancient books of the 7 treasures glazed sect are stored, you can read the books on the other 6 floors. "Thank you, Senior Lu." Wang Kai took back the token and bowed. "However, I must remind you that you must not try to go to the 7th floor of the book collection hall. In the book collection hall, there is a formation array set up by our 7 treasures glazed sect seniors. If anyone enters the 7th floor without a token, the formation array will be activated. I don't want such unpleasant things to happen." Lu Gongxing nodded slightly and reminded him again. After hearing Lu Gongxing's words, Wang Kai was slightly shocked. He didn't expect that there would be a formation array in the 7 treasures glazed sect. Formation arrays were also a mystical technique that had been passed down from the ancient Doloa continent. However, formation arrays had also been lost over time, just like pill refinement and soul tool refinement technique. Right now, only large sects like the 7 treasures glazed sect that had been passed down for a long time, or some ancient ruins that still had remnants of formation arrays left. However, the formation arrays of the 7 treasures glazed sect must have a long history. He still had a chance to obtain the core cultivation techniques of the 7 treasures glazed sect. "Senior, don't worry. I won't violate the prohibition to explore the 7th floor." Countless thoughts flashed through his mind. Wang Kai agreed and stepped into the book collection hall. Chapter 155. Walking into the 1st floor of the library, Wang Kai was immediately greeted by a dazzling array of books. "Xiaoguang, turn on the scanning mode." While taking out a book and pretending to read it in his hand, Wang Kai secretly instructed in his mind. "Yes, Master. Based on Master's current mental power, the current scanning speed is an average of 550 books per minute. Please approach the scan book when scanning to enhance the scanning effect and speed." As soon as Wang Kai's voice fell, Xiaoguang's prompt sounded in Wang Kai's sea of consciousness. "Can I scan 550 books per minute?" Listening to Xiaoguang's feedback, Wang Kai couldn't help but smile. He still remembered that a few years ago, when Wang Kai was scanning the books in the Martial Spirit Palace's library, his scanning speed had just reached 50 books per minute. Now, Xiaoguang's speed had increased by more than 10 times. However, it was not beyond Wang Kai's expectations that Xiaoguang could have such a scanning speed now. At that time, Wang Kai's mental power realm had just broken through to multitasking 3 times. Now, Wang Kai's mental power had reached the terrifying realm of multitasking 16 times. With regards to the multitasking technique, the further one cultivated, the more mental strength one would need to split out a new consciousness. It was clear that Wang Kai's mental strength was countless times higher than before. A minute later, "Master, after scanning, the books on the 1st floor of the 7 treasures glazed sect's library have an overlap of more than 99.9% with the existing database. The information redundancy is extremely high. In addition, the content of the books on this floor is relatively shallow and does not help to continue to deduce the world's rules. There is no scanning value. It is recommended that Master must not carry out data entry and scanning here to avoid wasting time." Xiaoguang's cold prompt sounded in Wang Kai's ears. "The scanning value of these information is not great?" Looking at the mountain of information in front of him, Wang Kai nodded as if he understood something. Obviously, like most places that stored secret manuals, the higher the level of the Seven Treasures glazed sex book collection tower, the higher the value of the secret manuals stored inside. Although there were many books on the first floor of the compendium hall, most of them were superficial cultivation experiences for soul scholars, soul masters, and soul grandmasters, or some general knowledge and secrets of the Dolua continent. Naturally, they had no value to Little Light as he continued to deduce the laws of the world. At the same time, Wang Kai's heart relaxed. Although the value wasn't high, the books on the first floor of the Seven Treasures glazed sex book collection hall could be said to be extremely rich. With a rough estimate, there were at least close to 1 million books. Even with Xiao Guang's ability, it would take dozens of hours to devour all of them. If he really wanted to scan them, he didn't have so much time to waste. Eugene, the books on the first floor are not of much value. Let's go up and take a look. After speaking, he pulled Ning Eugene's wrist and walked towards the second floor of the library. Yes, young Master Wang Kai. The first floor of the compendium hall mainly contains some general knowledge of the world of soul masters and some superficial cultivation tip. Normally, only new disciples would come here to look. Let's go. Hearing Wang Kai's words, Ning Eugene revealed an expression of understanding and nodded slightly. Soon after, she stuck close to Wang Kai's side like a little bird and walked towards the second floor. When they arrived at the second floor of the compendium hall, compared to the first floor of the compendium hall, the space here was a bit smaller. The total number of books here was also much smaller, at most several 100,000 books. However, compared to the first floor's collection, the quality of the books on this floor was undoubtedly much higher. Just by casually flipping through a book, one could find the cultivation experiences of soul ancestors and soul elders. Little Light, try scanning these books and see if they're of any help to you. While flipping through the cultivation experiences in his hands, Wang Kai instructed in his mind. Yes, Master. Following Little Light's words, Wang Kai's spiritual power began to rapidly deplete again. At the same time, Wang Kai used the earth strength, soul skill, and the yin-yang body to continuously replenish the spiritual power he was losing and maintain the stability of his own spiritual power. Master, after scanning, the information on the second floor of the Seven Treasures glazed sex compendium hall overlaps with the information on the second floor. The redundancy is as high as 99%. At the same time, the books on this floor are mainly suitable for soul elders and soul ancestors to read. According to the current progress of the deduction of the world's laws, the information on this floor is of very little help to the deduction of the world's laws. It is recommended that Master not spend the time to scan the world. A minute later, Little Light's voice once again sounded in Wang Kai's ears. Very little help to the deduction of the world's laws? It seems that as Little Light's deduction of the world's laws deepens, the difficulty of the deduction of the world's laws will only increase. Right now, only the information on Soul Kings and above are useful to it. As he thought to himself, Wang Kai pulled Ning Yuxian to the third floor of the compendium hall. Compared to the second floor of the compendium hall, the third floor of the compendium hall had fewer books. There were probably only a few tens of thousands of books, but these books were for Soul Kings and Soul Emperors and were much more valuable than the first two floors. According to what Ning Yuxian said, even the inner disciples could use their tokens to enter the first floor of the compendium hall to read. Only the outer disciples who were soul cultivators were allowed to enter the second floor of the compendium hall. As for the third floor of the compendium hall, only the inner disciples who became soul exalts before the age of 20 had the right to enter. Little Light, begin the scan. Picking up a book, Wang Kai silently ordered in his mind. After a minute, Little Light's voice rang in Wang Kai's ears once more. Master, after scanning, the third floor of the compendium hall of the Seven Treasures glazed sect has a certain amount of value to the deduction of the world's laws. If Master were to scan all of them, it is estimated that Little Light's deduction of the Dolua continent's laws will increase by 5%. It is recommended that Master scan all of them. It can increase by 5%? That's not bad. Little Light, continue the scan then. As he ordered in his mind, Wang Kai turned to Ning Yuxian and said, Yuxian, the books here are quite valuable. You can take a look. Let's wait here for a while. Yes, Sir Wang Kai. Yuxian will wait for you here. Her cherry lips parted as her gentle and elegant voice sounded in Wang Kai's ears. And Yuxian is so obedient. Wang Kai stretched out his hand and lightly pinched Ning Yuxian's fair cheek. He held the book in his hand as he strolled around the compendium hall. He had Little Light constantly scan the various secret halls in the compendium hall. Ning Yuxian's beautiful face was slightly red, and her heartbeat couldn't help but accelerate. Today, I coincidentally saw a screenshot of a pirated app in the group. This novel actually made it onto the app's trending list. The author's heart really doesn't feel good. You have to know that many authors who have much fewer collections than me have 2 or even 3 times more subscriptions than me. When I think of my own subscription data, the author is really sad and helpless. I sincerely request those friends who read pirated books, free reading software, all pirated from a certain pavilion, to come to QQ to read, the only authentic version. Use book coins. Books don't count as the author's subscription, to give the author a genuine subscription. I'm really grateful. Ors. Chapter 156. 2 hours later. The scan is complete. A total of 50,439 books have been scanned. The deduction of the world's laws has increased from 50% to 55%. After scanning the last book on the 3rd floor, Xiao Guang's voice rang out in Wang Kai's mind once more. After hearing Xiao Guang's report, Wang Kai revealed a satisfied smile. Let's go up to the next floor to take a look. Wang Kai grabbed Ning Yuxian's slender hand and was about to go up to the 4th floor to continue his sweep when Ning Yuxian gently pulled him back. Sir Wang Kai, it seems a little late now. Father is holding a banquet tonight. Don't miss it. Ning Yuxian revealed a faint smile on her face as she carefully reminded him. That's true. Since we have the token, we can come again tomorrow. Let's go first. After asking Xiao Guang, he found out that it was already 6 in the evening. Thus, he nodded and left the library with Ning Yuxian. They walked towards the 7 Treasures glazed pagoda in the center of the city. Half an hour later, in the 7 Treasures glazed pagoda. Miss Yuxian, Your Highness Wang Kai, please come in. Outside the hall, a few beautiful servants invited Wang Kai and Ning Yuxian in. He sensed that these 2 servants were not ordinary people. They were soul masters with soul power around rank 10. As expected of one of the 3 great sects, they are indeed extravagant. Looking at these servants, Wang Kai couldn't help but nod slightly. Compared to the banquet in the afternoon, the number of people attending this banquet was undoubtedly much lower. On the 7 Treasures glazed sect's side, only Ning Fengji and a few elders came to attend the banquet. On the Martial Soul Hall's side, only the Golden Alligator Dolua and a few elders who were soul sages and above stayed. Dishes of exceptional delicacies were served one after another. Everyone ate heartily and ate to their heart's content. Beautiful female dancers also appeared on the stage one after another. Melodious dance music sounded as they danced in front of the main hall, displaying their pure and beautiful bodies in front of the banquet guests. Immediately, the main hall was filled with singing and dancing. Young master, please follow Stillwater. After the banquet ended, Ning Yuxian passionately pulled Wang Kai towards her boudoir. She couldn't help but sigh in her heart. In the beginning, Ning Yuxian had only accepted Wang Kai because of her martial soul. However, after interacting with him for less than half a day, Ning Yuxian had completely confirmed that Wang Kai was the one for her. That's fine too. After thinking for a moment, Wang Kai nodded. Now that it was already late, He didn't need to be too anxious to clean out all the books in the library. Since there was a beauty who invited him, he could go to the library tomorrow. A moment later, in Ning Yuxian's room. Lord Young Master, please let Yuxian help you change your clothes. As she spoke, Ning Yuxian walked over to Wang Kai and carefully took off his clothes, revealing his jade-white and muscular body. Young Master Wang Kai, you're really handsome. Looking at Wang Kai's holy son, Ning Yuxian couldn't help but reveal a look of adoration. Then, let me help you bathe first. After bathing, I'll accompany you to bed. What do you think, young master? Then I'll have to trouble you, Stillwater. With a slight smile on his face, Wang Kai followed Ning Yuxian to her bathroom. Walking into the bathroom, Ning Yuxian's beautiful face blushed slightly. After all, she had never shown her body in front of a stranger before. However, she quickly overcame the small obstacle in her heart and gently undressed. The pink gauze on her body was removed and instantly, Ning Yuxian's extremely white body and enchanting figure was completely revealed in front of Wang Kai. Wang Kai looked at her snow-white body in admiration and then praised with a smile, "Stillwater, you're really beautiful." "Thank you, young master." Hearing Wang Kai's praise, Ning Yuxian's beautiful face couldn't help but blush. Then, she said softly, "Please enter the bath, young master." Plop, plop. Following two dull sounds, Wang Kai and Ning Yuxian jumped into the bath one after another. There was no need to describe the beauty of the bath. Half an hour later. "Young master, please get up." A slightly bashful voice sounded. Stillwater's technique is amazing. It seems like all the fatigue in my body has disappeared. Thank you, Stillwater." As he spoke, Wang Kai slowly walked out of the bath. "If young master likes it, Yuxian can wash young master every day," Ning Yuxian said softly with a trace of joy in her eyes. "That's not necessary. You've worked hard, Stillwater, right? Next time, let me give Stillwater a bath." With a naughty smile on his face, Wang Kai played with Ning Yuxian's face and teased her. Then Yuxian is looking forward to it." As they chatted and laughed, Wang Kai had already brought Ning Yuxian back to her room. "Young master, please." Pulling Wang Kai's arm, Ning Yuxian and Wang Kai slept together on the fluffy and beautifully embroidered bed. Instantly, the unique fragrance of a young girl entered his nose. "Yuxian, you smell so good." With an intoxicated smile on his face, Wang Kai couldn't help but praise. Different from Chihiro Snow's milky fragrance, Ning Yuxian's body fragrance leaned more towards the delicate fragrance of jasmine flowers. Although the fragrance was different, it was the same as Chihiro Snow. Ning Yuxian's body fragrance was also intoxicating. Unconsciously, Wang Kai's arm had already climbed onto her body. "Young master, please don't touch, it feels a little strange." Wang Kai's hand felt soft, and Ning Yuxian said shyly, "All right, then let's sleep first." Although they hadn't done it as husband and wife, since the engagement was already set, there was no hurry to do it. Wang Kai didn't want to leave a bad impression in Ning Yuxian's heart, so he stopped. Young master, let's sleep." She turned off the lamp beside the bed. Different from the oil lamps of ordinary people, as the little princess of the Seven Treasures glazed sect, the light source of the lamp in Ning Yuxian's boudoir was a huge pearl. At this time, when the lamp cover was closed, the light of the pearl was completely blocked, and the room fell into darkness. "Young Master Wang Kai, please, hug me to sleep." With a trace of shyness in her voice, Ning Yuxian took the initiative to invite him. "Yuxian, it's my pleasure." Revealing a doting smile, Wang Kai tightly hugged Ning Yuxian's slender waist from behind, feeling that warm and soft touch. After talking for a long time, Wang Kai and Ning Yuxian were slightly sleepy. Finally, Ning Yuxian opened her mouth and said, "Then, young Master Wang Kai, good night." Yuxian, good night." Following the last words, the room gradually fell into silence, leaving only the sound of light breathing. Chapter 157. Midnight. "Master, the cultivation time you said is up. It's time to start today's cultivation," Little Guang's voice sounded in Wang Kai's mind, waking him up from his sleep. That's right, it's time to cultivate. Cultivation was like rowing a boat against the current. If you don't advance, you'll fall behind. With regards to cultivation, Wang Kai had always placed the most important position in his heart. Releasing the substitute puppet, Wang Kai's mind moved, and he immediately entered the small plane. Sitting cross-legged in the small plane near the plane furnace, Wang Kai slowly closed his eyes, cleared his mind, and then silently activated the mysterious heaven-suppressing technique. Immediately, the first soul power vortex condensed in Wang Kai's heart. The soul power in the small plane also continuously surged into Wang Kai's body, pushing the first soul power tide. 2 hours later. Cultivating the mysterious heaven-suppressing technique, source experience plus 380. Refining the remaining medicinal power in the body, source experience plus 260. The 63rd soul power tide ended, and the system's prompt also sounded in Wang Kai's mind. Dispersing the 7 soul power vortexes in his body, Wang Kai opened his eyes, and then slowly stood up. Source experience 51,200, 70,000. Looking at his own experience slot in the system, Wang Kai couldn't help but reveal a satisfied smile. After this period of bitter cultivation, he wasn't far from the next promotion. In another month or so, he could successfully break through and become a rank 58 Soul King. This kind of cultivation speed was definitely a miracle that a normal Soul King couldn't even imagine in their dreams. However, Wang Kai's opponent wasn't an ordinary Soul Master, but the Soul Continent's current generation's Son of Destiny. Along the way, he must have had countless fortuitous encounters, and his promotion speed might not be much worse than Wang Kai's now. Not only that, but the more the infinite martial spirit system progressed, the more experience he needed to level up. Thinking of the huge amount of experience he needed to level up in the future, Wang Kai couldn't help but frown slightly. If he wanted to maintain his current cultivation speed, it was necessary for him to break through to the 8th level of the Taishen Heaven Suppression Technique and continuously optimize it. However, it was different from the first 7 stages of the Profound Heaven Suppressing Technique. The 8th and 9th stages of the Profound Heaven Suppressing Technique required the formation of a soul force whirlpool in the cerebellum and cerebellum respectively. It was the weakest and most mysterious part of the body. Even if he had the power of the earth and the body of yin and yang, it would be difficult for him to recover from an injury. It was even possible that it would leave behind some hidden injuries that would lower his future potential. For this reason, Wang Kai didn't dare to rashly cultivate it. He wanted to wait until he became a Soul Emperor before he tried again. At this moment, Wang Kai faintly felt a familiar calling in his heart. With a thought, Wang Kai came to the place where he had buried the spider eggs last time. Is this little guy hungry again? With that thought in mind, Wang Kai cut open the soil and dug out the hatching spider eggs buried under the soil. No, it was hard to call it a spider egg now. Compared to the last time, this arachnid egg had more than doubled in size, and its life force had increased by several times. It seemed that after obtaining the blood from Dugu Bo's corpse, this little guy had indeed benefited greatly. Not only had it changed in size, but after another week of incubation, the runes on the outer shell of the spider egg had also changed, faintly revealing a faint pressure. At the same time, the originally dark red shell of the spider egg had also gradually faded, revealing the body of the dainty young girl inside to Wang Kai. It was a perfect female body that looked to be around 12 or 13 years old. Her skin was whiter than snow, and her beautiful face was absolutely beautiful. Her long black hair was soft and elegant, and her lively facial features were impeccable. The curves of her body were also extremely melodious, as if all the spiritual essence of the world had gathered on her body. However, unlike other young girls, the beautiful girl in the spider egg had several dark red patterns on her body, and there was a small eye-shaped imprint on her forehead. However, These patterns and imprints didn't destroy the girl's beauty at all. Instead, they added a mysterious and wild beauty to her, causing Wang Kai to feel a sense of awe. "Mother, I'm hungry." At this moment, Wang Kai seemed to hear a faint call by his ear. "Mother." Hearing this name, Wang Kai couldn't help but be startled. However, he immediately thought about it. Although he couldn't see any traces of arachnid on the girl in front of him, she still had arachnid's bloodline in her body. Perhaps, from the memories of her bloodline, she had mistaken him for her mother? Forget it, let's not dwell on this for now. She looks quite smart. I'll slowly correct her after she hatches. With a faint smile, Wang Kai condensed a wisp of Shura's killing intent between his fingers, and lightly tapped the outer shell of the spider egg. Immediately, the numerous runes on the outer shell of the spider egg faintly lit up. At the same time, the Shura's killing intent between Wang Kai's fingers was quickly absorbed into the spider egg. Seeing that the Shura's killing intent in his hand was nearly exhausted, Wang Kai's mind moved, and another large wisp of Shura's killing intent was sent to his fingers. Half an hour later. "Mother, I'm full, burp." The speed at which the spider egg absorbed the Shura's killing intent became slower and slower. Finally, accompanied by a soft burp, the girl's satisfied voice sounded in Wang Kai's mind. Hearing the girl's reply, Wang Kai also slowly withdrew his finger. "It actually absorbed 50% of my Shura's killing intent in one go. What a gluttonous little fellow. If you're full, then continue to hatch and grow obediently." Seeing that the girl's consciousness in the spider egg had once again sunk into drowsiness, Wang Kai also revealed a doting smile, and buried the spider egg back into the pit near the dimensional furnace. After everything was settled, Wang Kai's mind moved again, and he returned to the Dolua continent. 2.5 hours passed, and at this time, the sun had already risen from the horizon. However, the sleeping Ning Yuxian naturally didn't realize that Wang Kai, who was sleeping beside her, had actually left at night. "Young Master Wang Kai, please let me serve you as you wake up." A ray of morning light shone through the window into the boudoir. Ning Yuxian had also woken up from her sleep, and immediately moved close to Wang Kai's ear and said softly, "No need, I'll do it myself." Hearing Ning Yuxian's call, Wang Kai also opened his eyes and sat up from the bed. Lightly sniffing, the girl's elegant body fragrance still floated at the tip of his nose, and Wang Kai also revealed a satisfied smile. Dressed neatly, Wang Kai and Ning Yuxian went downstairs to have breakfast together. This time, Wang Kai once again enjoyed the extreme treatment that Chihiro Snow fed him. There was naturally no need to describe how wonderful it was, and the corner of Wang Kai's mouth couldn't help but reveal a trace of an intoxicated smile. "Young Master Wang Kai, are you still going to the book collection hall this morning?" After breakfast, Ning Yuxian also interlocked her fingers with Ning Yuxian's and left the boudoir. "And that's right, let's go together." After speaking, Wang Kai and Ning Yuxian walked together towards the book collection hall not far away. Chapter 158. Senior Lu, here, my jade token. Arriving at the library, Wang Kai handed over his token to Lu Gongsheng. "And that's right. Let's go in." Lu Gongsheng nodded after examining the token in Wang Kai's hand. He then gestured for Wang Kai and Ning Yuxian to enter the library hall. This time, Wang Kai and Ning Yuxian went straight to the 4th floor of the library hall. Compared to the 3rd floor of the library hall, the number of books here was much lower. There were only about 10,000 books here. However, considering that these books were the cultivation tips of soul emperors and soul sages, it wasn't surprising that there were 10,000 books here. Compared to the martial spirit hall, the number of soul masters in the 7 Treasures Glazed sect was much lower. In the 7 Treasures Glazed sect, only 100 soul emperors and above would be born in a generation of disciples every 20 years. Furthermore, many soul masters didn't like to leave their cultivation insights to their descendant. Even though the 7 Treasures Glazed sect had 1,000 years of inheritance, There weren't many books that recorded the cultivation insights of Soul Emperors and above. Compared to the books on the first 3 floors of the library hall, the books on the 4th floor were undoubtedly much more precious. Therefore, unlike the books on the first 3 floors, the books on the 4th floor weren't placed directly on the bookshelves. Instead, they were stored in transparent jade boxes. Casually opening a jade box, Wang Kai flipped open the book inside. This book recorded the cultivation experiences and insights of a soul king. Although the pages were slightly yellow, they were much more precious than the books on the first 3 floors. Correspondingly, the durability of this book was also greatly increased. While instructing Xiao Guang to begin scanning, Wang Kai slowly walked around the 4th floor of the library hall. Although these books were stored in jade boxes, Xiao Guang's scanning ability could still penetrate the jade boxes and read the information inside. Of course, the scanning efficiency would decrease slightly, but it was still better than having Wang Kai flip through the books one by one. Half an hour later. Scanning completed. A total of 9,086 books have been scanned, and the deduction of the world's rules has increased from 55% to 62%, a total increase of 7%. After scanning all the books on the 4th floor of the library, Xiao Guang truthfully reported to Wang Kai. Hearing Xiao Guang's voice in his sea of consciousness, Wang Kai nodded with satisfaction. Compared to the books on the 3rd floor of the book collection hall, although the number of books on the 4th floor of the book collection hall was almost 80% less, their value was undoubtedly much higher. Even though the number of books was much lower, their effect in deducing the world's laws was still very good. Shui, let's go to the 5th floor and take a look, Wang Kai said to Ning Yuxian as he put the book back into the jade box. Young master, are you still not satisfied with the books on the 4th floor? Ning Yuxian asked softly after hearing Wang Kai's words. It's not that I'm not satisfied, but I can't stay in the library hall for much longer. Since Sect Master Ning has given me this opportunity, I still want to see the cultivation experiences of the Soul Doloa and titled Doloa seniors, Wang Kai explained as he pulled Ning Yuxian towards the 5th floor of the library hall. When they arrived at the 5th floor of the library hall, it was different from the entrance of the first 4 floors. There was a faint yellow film of light in front of the 5th floor of the library hall. Is this the formation of the library hall? Wang Kai asked Ning Yuxian as he looked at the film of light in front of him. Young Master Wang Kai, you're right. This is indeed the formation that protects our 7 treasures glazed sect's library hall. Do you see this film of light? Although it doesn't have any offensive abilities, if you don't have the corresponding identity token and pass through the film of light, the corresponding mechanism will be activated and lock the intruder in between the stairs of the 2 floors of the library hall. At the same time, it will also send a warning to the elders on guard outside to inform them that someone has entered the library hall. I see. Wang Kai nodded as he looked at the film of light in front of him. After that, he said to Ning Yuxian, Young Master Wang Kai, my identity token's level isn't high enough. I don't have the right to enter the 5th and 6th floors of the library hall. However, I know that the 5th floor of the library hall stores the cultivation experiences of Soul Doloa and titled Dolu. The 6th floor of the library hall stores the cultivation methods of our 7 treasures glazed sect. I'll wait for you on the 4th floor of the library hall. Ning Yuxian shook her head regretfully as she explained the 5th and 6th floors of the library hall to Wang Kai. Then I'll have to trouble you, Yuxian. I'll be back soon. After he finished speaking, Wang Kai gently caressed the light pink hair in front of Ning Yuxian's forehead. Yes, you don't have to be anxious. I'll wait patiently for you on the 4th floor. You don't have to worry that I'll be anxious or angry. Following Ning Yuxian's calm voice, Wang Kai stepped through the film of light and entered the 5th floor of the library hall. Compared to the books on the 4th floor of the library hall, there were undoubtedly fewer books on the 5th floor. There were only slightly more than 1,000 books. Of course, considering the rarity of Soul Doloa and titled Doloa on the Doloa continent, 1,000 books containing the cultivation experiences of Soul Doloa and above were actually very precious. Naturally, every book on the 5th floor of the library hall was extremely precious. Any one of them could be auctioned for hundreds of thousands or even millions of gold soul coins. 1,000 books containing the cultivation experiences of Soul Doloa and above were precious treasures that even the Heaven Do Empire couldn't take out. It was enough to show how powerful the 7 treasures glazed sect was. The fact that Ning Fengji gave Wang Kai the authority to read these books undoubtedly showed how much he valued Wang Kai. Compared to the books on the 4th floor, the protective measures on the 5th floor of the library hall were naturally more complete. Every book was placed in a special compartment, and every compartment was protected by a film of light. According to Ning Yuxian's instructions, Wang Kai placed the jade token on a stone platform beside the compartment. Suddenly, the jade token in Wang Kai's hand shone faintly. After that, the film of light on the stone platform also slowly dissipated. After retrieving the books from the compartment, Wang Kai immediately felt his hands sink slightly. On the 5th floor of the library hall, all the books were written on a special material called iron paper. It was made from the sap of 1,000-year-old ironwood through special processes. Every piece of iron paper was 100 times heavier than normal paper, and cost more than 1,000 gold soul coins. Of course, iron paper was also one of the rare materials on the Doloa continent that could contain the cultivation experiences of Soul Doloa and titled Dolu. Not only that, it also had the miraculous property of being immortal for 10,000 years. It was because of these 2 properties that the 7 Treasures glazed sect used it to preserve the true writings of Soul Doloa and titled Dolu. He gently flipped open the book in his hand. It was actually the cultivation notes of a titled Dolu. As he casually flipped through the book in his hand, Wang Kai silently asked in his heart, "Little Guang, do you have the ability to directly pass through the film of light and scan the information in these books?" Chapter 159. Master, there's no problem. Begin scanning now. Xiao Guang's cold voice sounded in his sea of consciousness. At the same time, Wang Kai's spiritual power was rapidly depleted again. Half an hour later. Scanning completed. A total of 1024 books have been scanned this time. The deduction of the world's laws has increased from 62% to 70%, a total increase of 8%. Xiao Guang's voice sounded in his sea of consciousness again. Wang Kai couldn't help but reveal a satisfied smile. 8%. Great, the deduction of the world's laws has finally reached 70%. Xiao Guang, can you further optimize the limitless blood fiend spear technique and the Taishan heaven suppressing technique? Master, according to the current deduction of the world's laws, the limitless blood fiend spear technique can be deduced to 64 forms, estimated to take 57 days and 21 hours. The Taishan heaven suppressing technique can be optimized to the 8th layer, which will take 14 days and 11 hours to optimize to the 6th layer, 31 days and 22 hours to optimize to the 7th layer, and 102 days and 3 hours to optimize to the 8th layer. After hearing Wang Kai's answer, Xiao Guang gave an honest answer. Then let's first deduce the 6th layer of the Taishan heaven suppressing technique. After hearing Xiao Guang's answer, Wang Kai thought for a moment and gave the order. There was still about a year and 5 months before the start of the Continental Elite Soul Master Tournament. Currently, he wasn't in a hurry to increase his fighting strength. Obviously, the best way was to first deduce the Taishan heaven suppressing technique and speed up his cultivation. Command received. Current mission. Optimize the 6th layer of the Taishan heaven suppressing technique. Estimated time, 14 days and 11 hours. Xiao Guang's voice sounded in Wang Kai's sea of consciousness again. Wang Kai also nodded in satisfaction. Then let's go to the 6th floor of the book collection hall. With a thought, Wang Kai put the books in his hands back into the compartment. Immediately after, he stepped through the light membrane and entered the 6th floor of the book collection hall. Arriving at the 6th floor of the book collection hall, there were even fewer books placed here. There were only a little over 100 books. According to Ning Yuxian, all the important cultivation techniques of the 7 treasures glazed sect were stored here. Other than the 3 core cultivation techniques, the Heart of 7 Orifices glazed heart, Stellar Soul Forging Divine Technique, and Heaven's Pillar Body Tempering Mantra, almost all the high-level cultivation techniques of the 7 Treasures glazed sect were stored here. Similarly, Wang Kai pretended to open the light barrier and took out an ancient book while silently instructing in his mind, "Little Guang, begin the exploration." Half a second later, Little Light's voice rang in Wang Kai's ears. "Master, the spell formation protecting the ancient books here is more powerful. It can isolate the spying of spiritual energy. Little Light can't scan it. Stronger array formations? Little Guang, does the system have any corresponding solutions?" Wang Kai's brows furrowed slightly as he asked. Hearing Wang Kai's question, Little Light quickly answered, "Reporting to Master, you can exchange 4 introduction to arrays in the system store to make up for Little Light's lack of knowledge about arrays. After obtaining the corresponding knowledge about arrays, Little Light will have the ability to probe the contents inside through the protection of arrays." "I understand." With a thought, Wang Kai's consciousness sank into the system store and quickly searched for Introduction to Arrays. Introduction to Arrays, Effect. Introduction to Arrays Inheritance, including the following 3 types of content. 1. Basic information and general knowledge about arrays in the Dolua continent. 2. Array diagrams and array cores of thousands of 1st grade to 6th grade arrays under the laws of the Dolua continent's heavenly law and related information. 3. Inheritance of techniques related to arranging arrays, modifying arrays, and cracking arrays. Prompt 1. After exchanging 4. Introduction to Arrays, the system will directly input the contents of this book into your sea of consciousness. Prompt 2. This item has the upgraded version of Array Truth and Array Godly. Price: 50,000 points. Exchanging for this item requires 50,000 points. You now have 400 points. Do you want to exchange? Of course. Wang Kai nodded. Spend 50,000 points to exchange 4 Introduction to Arrays. You have 106,400 points remaining. The system's notification rang out in Wang Kai's sea of consciousness. Afterwards, strands of wondrous knowledge about formations constantly surged into Wang Kai's sea of consciousness. Gradually, an intoxicated expression appeared on his face. After 20 minutes, all the knowledge of Introduction to Arrays was finally transmitted. Wang Kai slowly opened his eyes and revealed a brilliant smile, as if he had received a precious treasure. Just like pills, the arrays in the Dolua continent were also divided into 10 grades. Their power could respectively threaten soul scholars and titled Dolua soul masters. And just like pills, these arrays were also divided into human-grade arrays, heaven-grade arrays, and divine-grade arrays. And just like divine-grade pills, divine-grade arrays could also be activated. As for the refinement of arrays, if a soul master wanted to refine an array, the 2 most important things he needed to do were to lay down the array diagram and refine the array core. The array diagram was the foundation of an array. It was composed of many array patterns. When combined, it could draw upon the soul power of heaven and earth to form a terrifying power. The more array patterns there were and the higher the grade, the stronger the power it could draw upon. And the higher the grade of the array patterns, the stronger the power it could draw upon. And the higher the grade of the array patterns, it had to be inscribed with special ink refined from the blood of high-grade soul beasts and other natural treasures. As for the array core, it was the most important part of an array. It could be activated to draw in soul power and suppress the array. If an array diagram wanted to truly unleash its power, it had to have a correspondingly powerful array core. Generally speaking, the array core could be used by a soul tool, a soul bone, or a powerful soul master. And a powerful array needed all three at the same time. Aside from that, the operation of an array also required energy. Soul masters could use their own soul power to power the array, but more generally, the array would use soul crystals as the energy source. Soul crystals, also known as soul stones or soul power crystals, were produced from soul crystal veins. Some places where soul power was extremely dense and the pressure was relatively high could form soul crystals. Soul crystals could be seen as a type of natural treasure. They contained a large amount of soul power and could be used to assist a soul master's cultivation. They could also be used to activate soul tools and formations. Soul crystals were divided into elementary, middle, high, and supreme grades according to the amount of energy they contained. The higher the grade of the soul crystal, the more energy it contained and the more precious it was. However, as the concentration of soul power on the Dolua continent decreased, no new soul crystal veins had been discovered on the Dolua continent for many years. Even if some large powers had a small amount of soul crystals that had been passed down, they would treat them as strategic resources and wouldn't be taken out easily. Perhaps only the secret realms where the ancient families, who were descendants of the gods, lived in seclusion, would have large amounts of soul crystals remaining. Of course, just like Pildao, soul tool refining techniques, and soul crystals, the technique of refining arrays was also close to being lost on the Dolua continent. There were no longer any array masters on the Dolua continent. Only ancient powers like the three great sects and the martial soul hall might have remnants of arrays and some superficial principles of arrays. For example, the teleportation array that led to the angel's secret realm in the martial soul hall, or the protective array in the Seven Treasures glazed sects book collection hall in front of him. These were all arrays that had been passed down from ancient times. I see. After sorting out all the knowledge that he had just received in his mind, Wang Kai used his spiritual power again to observe the array in the Seven Treasures glazed sects book collection hall. Chapter 160. Heavens, this used to be a 7th grade heaven rank formation. Carefully observing the formation patterns on the walls of the library and combining them with the knowledge he had just inherited, Wang Kai couldn't help but sigh. However, after so many years of baptism, the formation patterns of this formation have already begun to dissipate. The formation master who made up for it was obviously lacking in cultivation, and the materials used to redraw the formation patterns were insufficient. The quality of this formation has already dropped to 5th grade man rank. Not only that, but the key soul tool that was the core of this formation has also been damaged, and the formation doesn't have the corresponding soul crystal to replenish its energy. Under the influence of various factors, the actual power of this formation is at most 3rd grade to 4th grade man rank. Now, Xiao Guang should be able to break through this formation. Using his spiritual power to sense carefully again, Wang Kai had already completely figured out the ins and outs of this formation, and couldn't help but sigh a few times. While retracting his gaze from the formation patterns on the wall, Wang Kai secretly asked in his heart, "Xiao Guang, after receiving the Introduction to Array Dao Inheritance, do you have the ability to bypass these formations and grab the contents of the cultivation methods inside?" "Master, Xiao Guang already has the ability to bypass the formation and grab the contents. Do you want to grab it?" "Yes." Wang Kai nodded. 5 minutes later, after sweeping through all the books on the 6th floor of the library, Xiao Guang's analysis of the world's laws had increased by another 2%. With a thought, Wang Kai stepped forward and arrived in front of the 7th light membrane. Compared to the previous 2 light membranes, the color of the 7th light membrane was undoubtedly deeper. "Xiao Guang, do you have the ability to penetrate the 7th layer formation now?" "Master, Xiao Guang has the ability to penetrate the 7th layer." Half an hour later. Great. The 7 Treasures glazed sects supreme books, Heart of 7 Orifices glazed glass, Stellar Soul forging divine art, and Heaven's pillar body tempering art, I have all of them in my hands. Passing through the light membrane on the 5th floor of the library, Wang Kai couldn't help but reveal a satisfied smile on his face. As the core scripture of the 7 Treasures Glazed School, the heart of 7 apertures allowed a soul master to multitask. Although Li Ning had taught Wang Kai his original multitasking technique, compared to the real heart of 7 orifices glazed glass, Li Ning's technique was definitely inferior. Now Wang Kai had obtained a more powerful and complete heart of 7 orifices, which would undoubtedly help Xiao Guang optimize and continue to deduce the multitasking cultivation method for Xiao Guang. As for the astral soul tempering art, it allowed a soul cultivator to absorb the power of the stars to cultivate. Not only could it rapidly increase a soul cultivator's soul force, but it could also subtly increase a soul cultivator's spiritual power. As the ultimate cultivation technique of the 7 Treasures Glazed sect, it could be said that the stellar soul forging divine technique was a miraculous cultivation technique that was completely not inferior to the Taishian heaven suppression technique. With this cultivation method, perhaps little light could further optimize the Taishian heaven suppressing technique. As for the heavens pillar body tempering art, this was a powerful body tempering cultivation method. As an auxiliary type soul master, the direct line soul masters of the 7 Treasures Glazed sect didn't have any offensive soul skills. Therefore, in order to have a certain level of self-protection, they would all cultivate this cultivation method to improve their physique. Of course, to Wang Kai, the value of this cultivation method wasn't as good as the previous 2 cultivation methods. With the Emperor Shura's martial soul, Wang Kai's physique had already surpassed all soul masters of the same level. Spending a large amount of time to temper his physique wasn't significant. However, this didn't mean that this Tianzhu body tempering art had no value. After obtaining this cultivation method, Wang Kai could still use it to comprehend side techniques by analogy, increasing the power of his limitless blood fiend spear art, Shura's heaven-splitting claw, and other martial skills. And after obtaining these 3 cultivation methods, Xiao Guang's analysis of the world's laws had increased by another 1%, reaching 73%. Although this kind of breakthrough wasn't enough for Xiao Guang to deduce his own cultivation method to a higher realm, it was undoubtedly a great help in speeding up the deduction speed of the original cultivation method and increasing the analysis of the world's laws. Xiao Guang, stop the previous deduction and combine it with the star soul tempering divine art to refine the mysterious heaven suppressing art. While walking down the stairs, Wang Kai secretly instructed in his heart. Yes, master. Combining the mysterious heaven suppressing art and the star soul tempering divine art, a brand new cultivation method can be deduced. Mysterious star soul tempering divine art. Mysterious star soul tempering divine art can draw upon the power of the stars while condensing a soul power vortex, tempering the soul master's soul power and spiritual power at the same time. According to the current analysis of the world's will, this cultivation method can be deduced up to the 8th level. Required time to deduce the first level of the cultivation method, 20 minutes. Estimated effect. Compared to the original version of the optimized cultivation method, the soul power cultivation speed will increase by 20%. At the same time, it will slightly increase spiritual power. Do you want to start the deduction? The effect is too great. Of course, I'll deduce it. Concealing the trace of ecstasy in the corner of his eyes, Wang Kai had already returned to the 4th floor of the book collection hall. Regarding the new cultivation method, mysterious star soul tempering divine art, that Xiao Guang could deduce, Wang Kai's heart could really be said to be wild with joy. This cultivation method combined the advantages of the mysterious heaven suppressing art and the star soul tempering divine art. Not only did it greatly increase the cultivation speed of the mysterious heaven suppressing art, it could also increase that mysterious spiritual power. Of course, the only pity was that Xiao Guang's deduction speed for the cultivation method was insufficient. If he wanted to deduce the first 5 levels of the mysterious star soul-tempering divine art, allowing Wang Kai to officially start cultivating this cultivation method, he still needed a full 10 days. And if he wanted to continue deducing the 6th, 7th, and 8th levels of the cultivation method, he would need 15 days, 45 days, and 120 days. Of course, although the speed was very slow, Xiao Guang's ability to deduce cultivation methods was already very powerful. Unlike self-created soul skills, generally speaking, without the strength of a titled Doluo, ordinary soul masters simply did not have the ability to deduce cultivation methods. Therefore, for Wang Kai to enjoy the privilege of being able to deduce cultivation methods as a soul king, Xiao Guang's existence was already a miracle. As for the speed of deducing cultivation methods, Wang Kai was not prepared to cultivate the 8th level of the mysterious star soul-tempering divine art before he broke through to become a soul emperor. Therefore, 70 days was not too long for him to deduce cultivation methods. And in the future, Wang Kai also believed that as his spiritual power increased and Xiao Guang's understanding of the laws of the world deepened, Xiao Guang's deduction speed for cultivation methods would only become faster. While thinking, Wang Kai had already returned to the 4th floor of the book collection hall. Leaning close to Ning Yuxian's ear, Wang Kai breathed out, "Yuxian, there's no cultivation method on the first 2 floors that I need. Let us go." Okay. Young master, where do you want to go after this? Since father gave you the precious treasure pavilion's token, why don't I bring you there to choose some treasures? Ning Yuxian's ears tickled slightly, and she couldn't help but blush. Then, she shyly put down the book in her hand and asked tentatively. "More than willing." As he answered, Wang Kai held Ning Yuxian's wrist and left the book collection hall with her. They walked towards the precious treasure pavilion of the 7 treasures glazed sect. Chapter 161. 15 minutes later, in the precious treasure pavilion. This was a purplish gold pagoda that looked similar to the 7 treasures glazed pagoda. However, it was different from the hidden book hall. The precious treasure pavilion had 9 floors in total. It was majestic, and the pagoda and foundation were one. There was not a speck of dust on the pagoda, and there was a faint glow on the surface of the pagoda. At the entrance of the pagoda there was a huge signboard. There were 3 golden words written on it, "Precious Treasure Pavilion." "Mr. Wang Kai, we're here." Ning Yuxian stopped outside the precious treasure pavilion and whispered into Wang Kai's ear. After entering the treasure pavilion and greeting the disciples guarding the treasure pavilion, Ning Yuxian and Wang Kai were brought in front of 2 white-haired elders. "Grandpa Qin, Grandpa Wang, good morning. Today, I brought my fiancé, Wang Kai, to the precious treasure pavilion to choose 3 treasures as my dowry." After greeting the 2 elders, Ning Yuxian turned to Wang Kai and said, "Mr. Wang Kai, please take out father's token." "Okay, Yuxian. Seniors, here is the token that father-in-law gave me." Wang Kai took out the golden token from his interspatial ring and handed it to the elder on the left. "Yes, there is no problem with this token. Now, you have the authority to take 3 treasures out of the precious treasure pavilion. Give the interspatial ring to the young mistress first, then you can go in." After verifying the authenticity of the token, the elder on the left handed the token back to Wang Kai and slowly opened his mouth to speak. "Yes, senior." After replying, Wang Kai took off the interspatial ring and put it on Ning Yuxian's finger. "Okay, then we will activate the array at the entrance of the precious treasure pavilion." As they spoke, the 2 elders came to the black copper door of the precious treasure pavilion and channeled their soul power. Not long after, the black copper door flashed with a faint purple light. Then, with a muffled sound, the thick copper door slowly opened. Suddenly, a dense aura of soul power rushed out. After entering the precious treasure pavilion, all the treasures will be protected by the array. Stick the token outside the array, and you will be able to take out the treasures inside. However, I have to remind you that once the light barrier is opened, it means that you have chosen this treasure. You cannot change it. Based on the level of your medallion, you can activate the formation a total of 3 times. You can take out treasures a total of 3 times. After choosing your treasure, return to the copper door and stick the medallion in the middle of the inner door. You can come out. After hearing the old man's explanation, Wang Kai strode into the precious treasure pavilion. Soon after, the bronze door behind him slowly closed. After entering the interior of the precious treasure pavilion, the density of soul power in the environment increased again. As he breathed in and out, soul power as dense as water rushed to his face. Wang Kai's entire body felt cool and comfortable. Perhaps this was one of the few places on the Dolua continent that could support the growth of natural treasures. No wonder they are one of the 3 upper sections. They have such a deep foundation. As he felt the change in the density of soul power around him, Wang Kai couldn't help but nod slightly. In the interior of the precious treasure pavilion, the density of soul power in the environment was close to 4 standard. This standard was enough for a soul dolua or even a titled dolua to cultivate. With such a rich place, the 7 Treasures Glazed sect was indeed one of the wealthiest powers on the continent. Wang Kai continued walking towards the interior of the treasure pavilion. In the distance, rows of neat and heavy jade platforms appeared in front of Wang Kai, shining with a soft and smooth luster. The jade platforms were shining with a dense light and auspicious mist. On these jade platforms there were all sorts of treasures placed according to their categories. Needless to say, the treasures that were sent here to be preserved were all rare treasures. Any one of them could be sold for a good price outside. Wang Kai couldn't help but reveal a smile as he looked at the rows of jeweled platforms. Although most of the treasures here are of very poor quality, the 7 Treasures Glazed sect has been established for so many years. They have accumulated many treasures. Although Wang Kai couldn't open the light barrier, he couldn't see the exact appearance of the treasures at close range. He could only vaguely sense the auras of the treasures. However, Wang Kai knew all the treasures in front of him like the back of his hand when he used his detection eye. In the precious treasure pavilion, most of the treasures were 2nd or 3rd human rank natural treasures, materials from the corpses of soul beasts that were between a few thousand and 10,000 years old, and some low-tier soul tools and medicinal powders. These treasures accounted for about 90% of the treasures in the precious treasure pavilion. Wang Kai naturally didn't care about these types of treasures. A 2nd human rank natural treasure wasn't cheap. In the Dolua continent's auction houses, a 2nd human rank natural treasure could be auctioned for a few hundred or even a few thousand gold soul coins. A 3rd human rank natural treasure could even be auctioned for tens of thousands of gold soul coins. However, to Wang Kai, these types of materials weren't worthy of his attention. Regardless of whether it was the fallen angel mystic realm or the ice-fire yin-yang well, Wang Kai had already obtained a vast amount of natural treasures. Among them, there was no lack of heaven-tier high-grade spiritual herbs. As for these low-grade spiritual herbs, he was naturally not interested in them at all. Other than low-tier pills, Wang Kai naturally didn't have any interest in those low-tier soul tools and medicinal powders. Some low-tier soul tools that could only threaten soul masters, and some pills that couldn't even be considered to be of any quality. These weren't things that Wang Kai wanted at all. Of course, other than those low-tier items, the 7 Treasures Glazed sect's precious treasure pavilion didn't lack some valuable treasures. Wang Kai definitely wouldn't let go of these treasures. You've taken my spatial ring? Sorry, I have a small plane. The volume inside is a few thousand times bigger than a spatial ring. There's a formation protecting it? I'm sorry. Although this formation was originally a heaven rank formation, it's only a human rank 5th rank formation. Do you think you can stop me with that? Since Wang Kai had entered the precious treasure pavilion, he naturally wouldn't just leave after picking 3 treasures. Of course, Wang Kai wasn't prepared to take all the valuable treasures. If he took 10% of the treasures in the precious treasure pavilion, it would be too easy for him to be exposed. Furthermore, although many of the treasures were quite valuable, they weren't very useful to Wang Kai. He wasn't prepared to take them away. His target was only the most valuable treasures in the precious treasure pavilion. Furthermore, he wasn't prepared to simply take the treasures away. Instead, he planned to use a certain amount of points to exchange for some treasures that were similar in appearance. He wanted to make sure that his disguise was flawless.